Money on his lap, cigarettes curling, smoking his political trap. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. He's a Republican dragon with his truthful slight, fights the battles unseen in the shadows of the night. From policy to passion, he breaks it all down, giving a voice to the voiceless, wearing his crown. Caffeine-fueled mornings, the smoke curls dance, Puppy at his feet, giving life one more chance. Through algorithms and bias, he cuts straight and clear. Michael's roar echoes in the hemisphere. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. No sound bites allowed is his ultimate creed. A dragon's perspective where facts are the seed. Standing tall on his battlefield of thoughts, guarding the truth that others forgot. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Loud, and I am your host, Michael Voss. Tonight is November 1st, and it's a little bit different. We normally do our live stream on every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we've been doing that for about 8 years now. But I will be at an event tomorrow, and therefore, since I'm at the event, I'll tell you about that in just a moment. I'm coming to you a couple of hours early on Saturday night. It's currently 7:03 p.m. So I thank you if you're seeing this live, and if you're not, please do comment afterwards if you're seeing it on Sunday during our regular scheduled time. I will not be on for 5 hours today like we normally would do. It is Saturday night, so I'll keep it kind of brief. But the reason why we do this and why I find it so important every week to come to you with the issues that are affecting us is because it affects all of us, all across the world. And what happens in America happens to other countries. How other countries are reacting affects the United States. And you have a right to have a voice in all of this. That's the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. And that's the reason why we do this week after week. For 20 years now, we've been doing political commentary because it matters, because you have that right and you should exercise it on a regular basis. So whether the internet overlords like it or not, whether or not any government likes it, you have the right to speak. We hope that you will share some of your thoughts on our channel. Whether you agree or disagree, you are welcome here. Now, I'm going to get into a few things. There's news. I wasn't able to do a full show on Wednesday, but I'll try and make up for it tonight. And we'll be talking about food stamps. We'll be talking about nuclear weapons. We'll be talking about a couple of elections with Congress, with a governor, and a few other things as well. But I want to start off talking about something that I think is very important. By the way, if you didn't see in the comments, I did welcome everyone for this special show, but there's an event that's going to be happening tomorrow in the Bronx. And I do want to share that with you so that you can see this for yourself. And here it is. And as you can see, and maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger. Can I make it bigger? Well, I'll show it to you like that. So on tomorrow, November 2nd at 11, not 10 a.m., but 11 a.m., I will be joining Gonzalo Duran, Larry Sharp, the Devil Dog USA Incorporated, they're having an event for veterans. And I think this is very important. And you can see that on my Instagram. I also put it on Facebook, I believe. And what it is for veterans who maybe because of resume, looking for a job, for a lot of different reasons, you may need a headshot, whether it's to go into acting or getting a new job or even a dating profile, whatever the reason. And for veterans who are looking to get those headshots, they can come and join us in the Bronx tomorrow from 11 till 1 p.m., 11 a.m. until 1 p.m., and they can get a free headshot taken. I believe there's 10 spots that are still open at this time, and you can join us. You don't need to pay anything. It's just come in. We'll get you into the lineup. You'll be able to have your headshot taken professionally, and that will be something you'll be able to use forever. It's just a service. And I know Larry Sharp, who's running for governor and is my good friend, Gonzalo Duran, who I've known and interviewed several times now. He's in charge of this. They'll both be there. I believe Larry Sharp will be making a speech, and it'll be a great event. And so that's why I won't be able to be back in time to do my show on Sunday. So I want to make sure everyone was aware of that. Speaking of which, just going over some of the things that have been happening, I also want you to be aware that today, in case you didn't see it earlier, I did do I had previously on Friday, I taped an interview with Larry Sharp. Now, some people may be aware, Larry Sharp, who is a libertarian, he's a Marine and a friend of mine for the last decade. Larry Sharp did an interview with me. He's been on with Kim Iverson, Glenn Beck. You've seen him on Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, most recently Sabby Sabs. So he's big league. He's a big league get. And the reason why Larry Sharp has been with all of the names that you know about and follow, Dave Rubin, among others, Heartlands Media, is because he's run for governor. He's run twice in the past, and he is going to run in 2026. He's already declared. He's already fundraising. Matter of fact, he had a fundraiser just before this program today from 2 until 6. And I want you to know I support him. I said it up front. I said it the day that he made his announcement on Kim Iverson to 750,000 people. And I say it again. I do support him, even though I am a conservative Republican. I have spent the last decade getting to understand Larry Sharp and his policies, and I do support him. Now, at the same time, I tried to be critical. Again, I'm letting you know up front that I had a bias, but I was going to do the interview with Larry as a candidate, like I would do with any other candidate. And I did try to maintain my professional balance without any bias. I'm sure some came across. But I think it's a good interview. I think it's informative. And I think people should be paying attention now because we know for a fact that and I'll get into it in a moment, but we know that at least Stefanik, at least her supporters, are already coming out trying to gin up support for her. We know that Kathy Hochul has been desperately trying to make sure that she stays as popular as possible for the 2026 governor's race. That's why she supported Zohran Mamdani at the end of the campaign. At the last moment, she jumped on the bandwagon, so is Obama, jumping on the bandwagon at the last possible moment for the popularity. That's it. They're on the bandwagon because they need the votes, whether it's for the 2026 midterm elections or the 2026 governor's race. So I do advise you, it's never too early. Yes, it is the 2026 run, but take some time to check out who Larry Sharp is, check out the interview, and if it interests you, do check out his website. All right, with that being said, I'm going to move on. And of course, I do want to mention that, let me come back here. No matter what I recommend, you have a right to make whatever choice you want. On this program, I will tell you up front my bias. I am a conservative Republican. I've never denied that, never hidden from that. I've told you about individuals that I think are good for an election, who I personally believe in, like Curtis Sliwa as a great example for the New York mayor's race of 2025. And I've told you why I don't like Zoran Mandami, the issues I have. It's not about the person, it's about the issues. And I think the policies of Curtis Sliwa are far better than Zoran Mandami. And introducing socialism into one of the most critical cities, if not the most critical city of the United States, is only going to harm everyone. That's my personal opinion. You may disagree. I'm perfectly happy to hear from you to tell me, Mike, but you don't understand. Tell me why you think I may be wrong. Whether it's on the 2025 New York City mayoral race, or it's the 2026 governor's race, or any other issue that we bring up and talk about on this program. There is nothing in politics that is out of bounds. I'm willing to talk about any subject. If it's been within the last 40 years, I probably know the issue. So never feel like you can't say something, even if you have a different political affiliation or you have a difference of opinion on any issue I may present to you. That's why I show you the information and have it, and I'll link it into the description after the show so that you get to make your own decision. That being said, and I'm looking forward to any of the comments as we do the show tonight. So I don't think I really covered this on Wednesday properly. So I do want to go into this. You may have seen this earlier this week. It was on C-SPAN. Michael Knowles, who is a Republican, and he was brought in front of Congress this week. A lot of people didn't hear about this. The left-wing news media downplayed this very much, talking about the violence and the root of violence in the United States at this time and for some time now, talking about the death of Charlie Kirk and how do we deal with this violence. So he was brought before Congress to speak about his awareness, his having been, Michael Knowles is someone who, like Charlie Kirk, goes to various colleges, he gives speeches, he takes questions from the audience, and the left, the far left radical socialists, the Democratic Socialists of America, come out in droves, threatening him, protesting him, attacking him, both verbally and physically very often. And he spoke about his experiences with that. Now, Cory Booker, for his part, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, he came up and made a very impassioned plea for everybody to calm down, for everyone to give up on the violent rhetoric and the support of violent individuals. And Cory Booker blamed that on President Trump, as well as some unnamed Democrats. He wouldn't name anybody. And then he ran away. Cory Booker ran away. He didn't stay in the Senate to listen to Michael Knowles respond to what he had said, because Cory Booker is a supporter of Jay Jones. That's the Virginia AG, Attorney General's race. And Jay Jones, the Democrat in that race, is famously now infamous for the fact that he was, in speaking with his colleagues, we now have the leak, we know, and he has admitted that he was texting his colleagues fantasizing about killing children. Let me be more specific. It wasn't just fantasizing about killing children. He was fantasizing about killing his Republican opponent's wife and children, that the children should die in the arms of his Republican opponent's arms. That I consider evil. That's violent rhetoric, and it is evil. I mean, you may not, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and I know many Democrats, and I know many Democrats don't like me. I know that I've spoken to many elected officials that are Democrats throughout New York, throughout this entire country, and they have told me over and over again how they personally don't agree with my politics. I've never had an elected official say that they hate me to the point that they would want me to die in the arms of my mother. That is just such a level of evil. And Cory Booker knowing that he has fully endorsed this man after becoming aware of his fantasy of killing children in the arms of their mother, Jay Jones, Cory Booker ran away. He has never apologized. He has never withdrawn his endorsement. He still, to this day, supports the Virginia Attorney General, even though he wants to kill children in the arms of their parents just because he doesn't like the politics, the political preferences of the parent. I don't know how Virginia is going to vote, but I would imagine that they would say no. And I would imagine that this congressional hearing should be this entire interaction between Cory Booker and Michael Knowles. Cory Booker, it should be public. You should have heard about this. But for some reason, it wasn't mainstream news. The mainstream news media ignored this completely. And they really shouldn't. They should be talking to you about this, especially since the election is on Tuesday, especially because voters should know, both in New Jersey, in Virginia, and across this country, that Democrats are more than willing to support someone who will kill the children of their political enemies and in their bid to gain power. You should know that. That is something that is a reason to say whether you will or will not vote for that individual, regardless of their party. In this case, it's a Democrat. I'd say the same thing if a Republican was running and said, "Oh, I want to see the children of my Democrat opponent dying in the arms of their mother," then I guarantee you that would be national news, and I would be out saying that guy doesn't need, or that woman doesn't need to be elected. But now that it's a Democrat that we have identified this, just like with Antifa, Democrats go, "I didn't hear that." They don't know what to say. They're just like, "Oh, well, I didn't really hear that. I didn't follow that. I didn't know that. It's okay." And they've made up every excuse in the book to step away from that. I don't think they should. I think that should be big news. I think that should be news. But that is my opinion on that, and I will include the link so that you can see this. It was on Michael Knowles. You can also go over to C-SPAN, and you'll be able to see the entire event, the congressional hearing. By the way, Joel has joined us, and Joel says, "I just watched your Larry Sharpe interview. He thought it was well done." Thank you for that, Joel. I appreciate it. I do try to make my interviews as I never attack anyone in the interviews. I try to be as neutral as possible. Obviously, with Larry being my friend, it was maybe I was a little biased. I was a little nicer than perhaps I'm always, not quite as harsh as I usually am, but I do try to be fair. And I think the questions that I asked of him were fair questions and questions that regular people have at this time about what's going to happen with the next governor. So I'm glad that you liked it. I did achieve at least a little bit of my goal. But when we're talking about candidates who are running away from the public, so not just the Jay Jones, the Attorney General for Virginia, or would like to be the Attorney General of Virginia, there's also Kat Abu. Now, you may remember about 3 weeks ago, Kat Abu, was October 26th, I believe it was 26th, so 2 weeks ago, Kat Abu had gotten arrested. Well, excuse me. She was at a ICE facility in Chicago, and she was protesting. That's fine. Any American citizen can protest for anything they want to. If you want to protest because you think butter pecan is better than vanilla ice cream, that is your choice. You have that right. That's what the First Amendment is for. Please go out and protest anything you want. But Kat Abu, along with other members of candidates seeking election in Chicago, they went out and they didn't just protest. They broke the law. They obstructed justice. They went out and they prevented law enforcement, federal law enforcement, ICE agents from doing their job, their lawful enforcement. That's what they stopped. That is a crime. That's obstructing justice. And if I did that to Obama or to any Democrat, to Zoran Mandami, and I tried to stop their car from being able to go to and from events, I would be arrested and I would be in jail instantly. If you did that, whether it's to Trump or to Chuck Schumer, it doesn't matter, you would go to jail. But you and I are not Democrats running for a congressional seat. And the rules apparently are very different because Kat Abu, she did that. She tried to make money off of it. And we showed you on this program about 2 weeks ago, we showed you as she was removed from the path of the ICE vehicle, and she used that as a reason to donate to her, to gain sympathy, to try and encourage people to vote for her. It was a very highly edited clip, about 5 seconds long, except I showed you the CBS News interview that showed you the 2 minutes before she was moved out of the way of the ICE vehicle, so that you could see in full context that she wasn't just standing by and protesting, she was obstructing justice, a crime. And I said then she should be indicted, she should be arrested. She has been. She is now, Kat Abu, who's the woman on the right in this image, she is being held accountable. She is indicted. She will be in front of a jury because she committed a crime. And it's on video. Now, she can give her excuses of whether or not it falls into free speech, which it doesn't. This isn't about free speech. No one stopped her from being able to protest. The dozens of people surrounding that facility that day, that were protesting that day, none of them have been arrested. She and 5 other individuals who were stopping the vehicle, who were impeding ICE from doing their job, they were arrested. 6 people in total, one of them being Kat Abu. Not, as you saw in the video, there was about 50 people protesting. The other 45 people did not get arrested. Why? Because free speech is free speech. They were protesting, and no one is stopping them from doing that. But crime, now, when Kat Abu is held accountable for that, when this young woman, who is Tara Palmieri, is speaking with Kat Abu, and Kat Abu expected, apparently, that no one would ask her about her crime. Well, she went on to the program, and I want to show you what she said.
But when you see that, what do you think right now?
Tara, once again, this is my first time being federally indicted. Like I said,
Yeah.
I plan on pleading not guilty. The evidence will come out in court. And
I love this. She's saying that she's not guilty. The evidence will come out in court. We have the evidence. She provided it. There's video of Kat Abu committing a crime, obstructing justice. CBS has the video. Kat Abu is making money off that same a TikTok clip of that video. And ICE agents have video. We've seen them all. They're public, out in the public. She committed the crime. I don't know what she thinks how she can get away with saying, oh, no, it's free speech. No, it wasn't. Standing in front of the vehicle, beating on the vehicle, confronting law enforcement, that's not free speech. The moment you are being physical in your protest, it's no longer a protest. So she's going to jail, but let's go on with this.
And I plan on winning.
Oops.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just really.
Did you see that? Kat Abu being questioned about whether or not, about the details, about what she's going to do, about the video that we have seen that is public information, rather than being accountable because she was being properly pushed back on by a member of the press, Tara Palmieri, she ran away. It's just like Cory Booker. When you actually hold them accountable to what they have said and what they have done, they run away. Cory Booker ran away, and now Kat Abu has run away. And she thinks she's going to be elected. She thinks she should be a congresswoman. If you can't handle a question about your actions, you don't deserve to be elected. That's true for Cory Booker. That's true for Jay Jones. That's true for Kat Abu. If you cannot stand up and answer, be accountable for what you have said and what you have done, then you shouldn't be in elected office. That's my opinion. If someone thinks that I'm wrong, if someone thinks that no, them having these Democrats run away is perfectly fine, then please tell me how. Tell me how. And I know someone's going to say, and I know what's the answer. I know the answer someone's going to say. They're going to come to me and say, but Mike, the House Republicans, they ran away during the government shutdown. That's the answer that the Democrats will tell you right now. Well, Republicans run away. No, they didn't. See, the Texas Democrats, remember when they ran away? Twice now, that they've run away because they didn't want to have a vote. In fact, the Texas Democrats ran away, took a vacation in New York, and the flood victims, the Texas flash flood victims, were hurt. They were directly harmed because the money, federal money to help them buy new homes, to rebuild their lives, that was denied because the Texas Democrats didn't want to vote on whether or not Texas would be redistricted. This is where the harm comes in, like with Jay Jones in Virginia becoming attorney general. If he gets in, this guy is biased. He will harm you just because of your political preference. If he's willing to glorify and fantasize about killing a child just because the parent is a Republican, what do you think he's going to do when you come into court? You're being charged or potentially going to be charged with a crime, and he finds out what your political ideology is. Yeah, this is where it hurts us. So, and Kat Abu, the same thing. So how is that different? The House Republicans voted on the government shutdown, on a clean resolution to continue to fund the government, as they are required to do by law. The House Republicans voted yes for the clean CR to fund and keep open the government. They voted. All the Democrats voted against. The Republicans voted for it. It passed. There are more Republicans than there are Democrats in the House. The bill passed. It went to the Senate. The House Republicans did their job. See, that's the part that Chuck Schumer and many of the other Democrats aren't telling you. Hakeem Jeffries isn't telling you. House Republicans did their job. There's nothing else for them to do. There's nothing else for them to vote on. They already voted. They already said, let's keep the government open. In the Senate Republicans who are still in Washington, who are still trying to get this done, 13 times now have voted to keep the government open, to get the clean continuing resolution, the clean CR, to fund and open the government. 13 times Democrats have voted for this. Even two senators from Pennsylvania, both of them Democrats, including John Fetterman, have voted with the Republicans. There's 5 Democrats. That's all that's necessary. Now you may say, but wait, there are more Republicans in the Senate than there are Democrats. It takes 60 votes, not 50. If it were 50 votes, Republicans would have passed the bill. If it was 51, Republicans would have passed it. It takes 60. We have about 55. That includes the 2 Democrats from Pennsylvania. We need 5. That's it. Just 5 Democrats to say, yes, I'd like to give people food stamps. I'd like to open up the government. And that's it. That's all it takes. And the Democrats will not do that 13 times over the last month. So you can't tell me, oh, well, Republicans have run away and they're just like Cory Booker. They're just like Kat Abu. No, they're not. The news media just isn't telling you that. So that makes a very big difference. But let me go on. So I wanted to talk about Kat Abu. I think that was just, it is a display of weakness. She committed a crime. I'd have more respect for Kat Abu if she said, you know what? I was protesting. The ICE vehicle was coming out, and I decided, even if I get arrested, I'm going to stop that vehicle because I believe it was wrong. I'd have more respect for her. She still should go to jail. She should still be arrested. It's still a crime. But I'd at least have respect for what she did, that she actually stands by the policies and not just trying to find a way to gin up votes and to get donations, which is what she's actually doing. She's virtue signaling. And the virtue signaling, which is why she ran away, because she's not willing to say, yeah, I did it. I did it, and I'm willing to suffer the penalty for what I did because I think I was right. Anything less than that is virtue signaling. She's not willing to say, I did it. And I'd do it again. If she said that, I would have more respect for her. I still wouldn't vote for her. I still think she's wrong. I still think she broke the law, but I'd at least respect her. I can't respect Kat Abu. Now, again, if you're a Democrat, especially one in Chicago, you think I'm wrong, tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me how what she has done, what Cory Booker has done, what Jay Jones have done, tell me how those are good things for America. Tell me how they deserve to be voted for. Okay, let me move on. So that kind of brings me to something I think didn't get a lot of attention, and a lot of people are somewhat confused because if you're looking, I know on Facebook recently, there have been several posts, and I've seen it in some social media saying Representative Luna has been trying to pass a bill that would disqualify Zoran Mandami. That one of the tactics that Republicans are trying to do is to remove Zoran Mandami. Even if he were to win the election, he would lose because he has dual citizenship. He has citizenship in Uganda, and recently he got citizenship in America. So he is a dual citizen. He has two countries. Now, there are people in America that have that, like if you're Irish, if you have Irish descent, I believe if your grandmother was living in Ireland, then you can have dual citizenship of Irish and American, because that's one of the rules and the laws. If you're Jewish, you can have citizenship in Israel as well as America. That's the rules of Israel. So dual citizenship is not something that is unusual, and many Americans do have that. Well, not many. Some Americans have it. But looking at what we've seen with Ilhan Omar, what we've seen with Zoran Mandami, that is an issue which has been long disputed, and many people have argued and said, no, if you're going to be in the military, if you're going to run for elected office, you should have only one fealty, one loyalty to the United States, not United States and some other country, because now what happens when there is a conflict of interest? What about which countries' belief systems, which countries' laws are you going to stand for if you're a dual citizen, whether it be Ireland or Israel, Uganda, or anywhere else? Which nation are you going to stand by? Now, we've seen people like Ilhan Omar say, well, I want to bring Somalia into America. So she wants to have Somalia in America, using American resources, but having the ideology, the rules and laws of her faith in her country, which is Somalia, not America. I disagree with that massively. And we've often talked about people being in America, foreigners being in America, but not Americans. And I think that's wrong. So one of the laws, and this wasn't from Luna, this was October 24th, 2025. It's HR 5817. And I bring this up because it only has a 2% chance of actually passing. So, yes, this is somewhat of a virtue signal. And this is from Representative Randy Fine. Okay. And he's in Florida. Was that because of Zoran Mandami? Not really. It's a bigger issue. As I said, it affects people like Ilhan Omar. It affects people who are Irish and of Irish descent, of those who are Jewish and therefore Israeli. It is a bigger issue that has been discussed for decades. It's not about Zoran Mandami. But the media will try and use Zoran Mandami to say that this issue, which has been consistently talked about in American politics, it's all about him. No, it really isn't. But this most recent one, 5817, well, to be fair, yeah, that is more recent. But it's not the only bill, because to be fair, there's also another bill, which is H.R. 7484. And this bill was introduced back in, and I want you to see this, this was before 2024. Okay, and I believe I have it. Where is it? Let me show you. Actions, there it is. The H.R. 7484, which was introduced back on February 29th of 2024. February 29th of 2024. That's fully more than a year and a half before Zoran Mandami was ever looking to run for mayor. Before he started advertising, getting money, before there was a Democratic primary, in February of 2024, we saw that people were saying the same thing that they're saying in October of 2025. This isn't about Zoran Mandami. They're lying to you. Democrats, again, are virtue signaling and trying to use emotions to manipulate you. They want you to think this is about racism. They want you to think it's something about Muslims. It's not. This has been an issue going back decades. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of this. This is a bill from Tim Burkett, and he's a representative out of Tennessee in 2024. So when Democrats tell you, oh, no, it's about racism, it's about religion, it's all about Zoran Mandami and the socialism. No, they lie to you because they're not showing you the truth. They'll point to the bill in October and they'll say, oh, see, that's it. They won't mention, oh, yeah, see, this is such an old idea. It was even in 2024. There were people who were looking for this, and that bill did not pass either. These bills don't have a real chance because no one's going to take away the citizenship or force people to lose citizenship for being Irish Americans, dual citizenship there. No one's going after people who are Jewish and they have citizenship in Israel and in America. This is something that we've always had, and we're not going to take it away from them. But the left wants you to think that it is. They want to lie to you. I'm showing you the truth. I'm showing you the facts. This is evidence that they hope you would never look up, that you would never look into, to understand that this has been an argument for decades, and it has nothing to do with Zoran Mandami. But, hey, they want everything to be about Zoran Mandami. But some things are, in fact, about Zoran Mandami. And again, I want to hear what you guys think. You can reach out on the chat, SuperChat, a RumbleRant. You can tell me what you think about Zoran Mandami and everything we're talking about right now. But I do think it's also important to notice that, and it really hasn't gotten a lot of attention, the DOJ is looking to have Zoran Mandami arrested, or at least indicted. Why? It's because he has dual citizenship. No, I just showed you. That's a lie. It's because Zoran Mandami is a socialist. No, socialists have run for many elections. In the 2024 presidential election, what's her name? Dela Cruz was running. Socialists were on the ballot. The Green Party had some socialists that were running on their party. No, that's not the reason why. AOC is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. She's elected in office. It's not because of the socialism aspect. So why are they going after Zoran? No, I know why. Because he's a Muslim. No, that's not it either. If you look last Wednesday, I showed you the article from Al Jazeera. The Middle East has been promoting and trying to fund Zoran Mandami. Out of the Middle East and other countries around the world, $13,000 have come into the Zoran Mandami campaign. Now, you may say, but Mike, Zoran Mandami raised a couple $1 million. $13,000 is not a lot of money. You're right. but it's a crime. It is illegal. And it, more importantly, shows you something like the Al Jazeera article promoting Zoran Mandami. Why would Al Jazeera, a newspaper for the Middle East, run by terrorists, funded by terrorism, why would they be so interested in whether or not Zoran Mandami gets elected in New York City? Now, that's a question that Zoran Mandami should answer for the public. That should be something that he should reassure Americans and New Yorkers that whatever they're saying, that's not influencing him. But the fact is, he's kept $7,000 that came from overseas, mostly the Middle East. He's kept this $7,000, even though it is a crime to do so. Now, maybe that was an oversight by his accountant, although his accountant is paid to make sure that these oversights don't happen or to resolve them as quickly as possible. But as of this article, which came out on October 28th, they still hadn't fixed that. And it didn't seem like they're intending to, because they don't care. They could have taken care of this already. They're not. So this is something that is important also for voters. People should be aware of this. The nation has been talking about nothing but Zoran Mandami since about August, since the regular American citizens start paying attention to elections roughly around Labor Day. And then they start paying attention. And Zoran Mandami has been the number one issue in politics in terms of elections throughout that time. This is important. The mainstream news media should be talking about this investigation because of accepting illegal money, influence. Remember, Donald Trump, they impeached him. They impeached Donald Trump because of international influence, which we later found out, Russia, complete hoax. Didn't happen. You know who did get the money from Russia? You know who Russia was influencing? Democrats on behalf of Hillary Clinton, not Donald Trump. That's what 3 investigations costing $35 million, spending 2 years, we found out, no, Russia was a hoax. Rachel Maddow lied to you. Adam Schiff lied to you on a nightly basis. But hey, this is just the same thing. It's that same influence. And rather than wait until after he gets elected, they're looking at it now. Does that change your vote? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you think the DOJ is being unfair, even though a law has been broken. And we have seen previously that when a candidate breaks a law, especially election law, well, in New York State, if they're not a Democrat, the law cracks down full throat and tries to crush them. If you're a Democrat, well, you get a different treatment. In Chicago, or rather I should say Illinois, they treat you different, like Cat Abu. If you're James Comey, they treat you different. If you're Jay Jones or Cory Booker, they treat you very different. Well, maybe we should start treating all of those Democrats the same as you treat Republicans. And if it's a big deal about getting international funds, then for Donald Trump and for Hillary Clinton, then it's an important and big deal for Zoran Mandami. And voters should be made aware. They should be told about this. This should be something, again, Zoran Mandami should be reassuring American citizens that he is returning the money and that he isn't being influenced by international figures like Al Jazeera or any of the nations that have donated to him. It should be rather simple. Instead, this is being dumbed down. This is being silenced. And it shouldn't be. And it shouldn't be. Joel does have a comment here, and Joel says, I have it up here. Joel says, this is a great example of why I like following you, Voss. I thought this bill was new in reference to the bill on dual citizenship. I thought this bill was new, and it felt like lawfare. I agree with a citizenship requirement for office or military. Well, you're right. It isn't a new bill. It isn't new at all. But again, the news media doesn't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you that this has been happening for a long, long time and that this isn't about Zoran Mandami. And the question is at least a valid argument to have, as we have been having for decades, that, well, if someone has dual citizenship, is that a no-go? Is that something that would prevent them from joining the military or being elected to office? What about their conflict of interest for these two different nations with very different policies? There is no other nation that has a constitution like America. There is no other country that has freedoms like America. Just doesn't exist. So you will have a conflict of interest if you have dual citizenship and you're elected or in the military. Now, the argument so far is that, no, we can live with it. But that is an ongoing debate. So, and as you can see, Joel says, nope, he agrees. If you want to be in elected office or the military, like many people, he says, no, you have to have one loyalty, only one, America. If you want dual citizenship, you can be an American citizen. You just can't run for elected office. A lot of people say that. A lot of people say that. So it is interesting. Thank you for your comment, Joel. I appreciate that. I always love having comments. And it's up to you, folks. You can tell me what you think, because it's not about Zoran. There's a lot of things Zoran Mandami, I would never vote for him. He's a socialist. He has no idea how socialism tears apart people's lives. He has many questionable, not questionable. His cut and paste policies are proven failures. Everywhere in the world that they have been tried, they have failed. I do not want New York City to become the latest guinea pig in his social experiments for the socialist ideology. It's going to be devastation. So, no, I don't want that. But again, we should be having these conversations. He should be reassuring people. And like I said, Democrats right now, they're just too busy trying to bandwagon. That's what I like to call it, bandwagoning. Because Obama is now on board with Zoran Mandami. Where has he been for the last several months? Now he's talking about, oh, if Mandami wins, you know what? You're my buddy. You can give me a phone call. I'm going to give you my phone number and I will give you advice. Look, I understand. Obama wanted to bring in socialism into America. That's part of his Transform America. He never told you in 2008, in 2009, in 2012. He didn't tell you what he was transforming America into. He left that out. We want to transform America. That is a partial sentence. That is an incomplete thought. Because the important part is transform it into what? What do you want to make America? You're changing. What are you changing? And what are you changing it into? These are critical things that I brought up in 2008, 2009, 2012. I brought it up. Most of the media ignored it. So he wanted to change America into socialism. So am I surprised that now, with a socialist looking to run and possibly become mayor of New York, that Obama is jumping on the bandwagon? The thing is, he's only doing it at the end of the race. If he wasn't just virtue signaling, why wasn't he saying this back in June when there was a Democratic primary? Why didn't he say this in July or August or September? Why did he wait until the very end and then say, you know what, I'll be right on board? Because this is, to many Democrats, Obama is basically a saint. He's Jesus Christ reborn. He is a mythological figure almost in the Democratic hierarchy. And so if Obama is saying, I'm going to work with Zoran, well, that is the highest praise and endorsement you could possibly get. It makes Democrats believe that they're going to not just get Zoran Mandami, they're getting Obama too. That's ridiculous. And by the way, Obama isn't being elected to New York. He's not becoming part of New York politics. He wasn't elected by the people. The election isn't, hey, do we vote for Obama or not? Because Obama isn't going to be running the day-to-day. It would be Zoran Mandami and Kathy Hochul or whoever is governor. That's who's dealing with the day-to-day. And Zoran can call Obama all day he wants. but it would be Zoran Mandami or Curtis Sliwa or Kathy Hochul or maybe even Larry Sharpe, who would be actually running New York City, not Obama. But again, this is a manipulation. You're supposed to think, well, Obama's going to be involved in running New York. No, he won't. No, he won't. It's just a lie. It's a virtue signal. It's a way to try and jump on board, try and get momentum for 2026, try to legitimize Zoran Mandami so you don't think about the fact that his bus routes have failed in every state that they've been in, that his social workers as police officers have failed in everywhere it has been tried, that the $30 minimum wage will fail, just like the minimum wage of $20 and $15 have already failed everywhere that they have been tried. You're not supposed to think about the failures. You're supposed to think about Obama. And that's why they want it. Bear with me. Excuse me one second, folks. We have a comment I just want to remove here. Sorry, there was an individual with a comment that I think is rather objectionable, and I need to try and remove that. Sorry about that. Look, I don't mind that if someone wants to say something, fantastic. You can make any comment that you want. But if you're being rude, if you're a troll and you're literally being repulsive and repugnant, I'm not going to put up with that. You want to tell me, Mike, I disagree with your policies. I disagree with your analysis. You disagree with my conclusions. Fantastic. I want to hear that. If you want to tell me I'm old, you want to tell me that I'm, I don't know, they all kinds of things. They call me a Nazi. No, you don't get to do that on my channel. No. So we'll go on. So I thought this was important to talk about with Zoran, especially, and remember, Obama is doing this after the DOJ has said, hey, Zoran, why are you taking money from foreign countries, which is a crime, which is illegal? Oh, no. But Obama said, Zoran's okay. They're trying to cover up. They're trying to hide the failures of Zoran that are obvious ahead of time. It's really sad. It's really sad when you think about it. So let me move on. But we're talking about New York, and we're talking about New York races. And as I told you, we're already well into what's happening in 2026. See, I've been involved in political commentary and in politics for 20 years now. Actually, a little bit longer than 20 years. And I have seen people who are into not just into political junkies, but those who are involved in elections with candidates and policies and such. We're in 2026 already. The 2026 election season has already started. We're past 2025. And so you're starting to see the political teams come out, and they're already talking about 2025. One of the most important issues in New York, and we're seeing this around the nation, is, of course, Elise Stefanik. Now, it is already presumed that Kathy Hochul is going to run for re-election. And Antonio Delgado, who currently is the lieutenant governor, who ran away from the New York 19th district. He was a congressman, and I was in the New York 19th district at the time. Rather than lose to, who was it at the time? I'll be done soon. Rather than running in the New York 19th and probably losing his race, Antonio Delgado ran to the lieutenant governor, a job that he could do where he didn't need to do anything. And if you noticed, just like when Kathy Hochul was the lieutenant governor for the disgraced governor Andrew Cuomo, you never heard from her until Cuomo was disgraced for abusing women, and then he left. Then she became a name. Well, Antonio Delgado, you haven't heard him do anything. You haven't seen him. You haven't seen photo ops. He's been Nothing. He was the DEI candidate, much like Kathy Hochul was. She was the DEI woman for New York Democrats. Well, then since they had a woman as governor, well, they needed a DEI hire. Who could they get? Antonio Delgado. He's a black man. There you go. Now he wants to be governor. It's not going to happen. So realistically, the race is between Kathy Hochul and who's on the Republican side. Mike Lawler doesn't want to do the race because he knows he'll lose, just like Lee Zeldin did. He doesn't want it. He wants to stay in Congress. So who else is willing to do it? Elise Stefanik. And we have talked about this since February of this year, 2025, that Elise Stefanik was set up. And you will see Donald Trump, he will endorse her. It's part of the deal. It's part of why she's not at the UN right now, is Elise Stefanik will run for governor. We knew this, and her supporters are coming out. And what we can see is interactive polls. This is a poll that came out from the Manhattan Institute, which is right-leaning. Let's be honest and fair. The Manhattan Institute is not bipartisan. They're not neutral. They are right-leaning, and they came out with a poll. And this poll, which they show you, and it's important because they try to hide this from people. They say Elise Stefanik is at 43%. Every credible poll that is nonpartisan shows Elise Stefanik down by about 20 points. That's where the nonpartisan polling is showing. But this poll, this partisan poll, shows Elise Stefanik at 43%, beating or barely beating Kathy Hochul at 42%. That's called a dead tie race. It means neither one of them has a clear lead. The part they didn't mention, and this is what I thought was very interesting, they put in other at 9%. Who's other? There's only one actually declared candidate for the New York governor's race in 2026 at this moment. That's Larry Sharpe. There is no one else. When they did this poll, there is only one declared candidate. It's not Elise Stefanik. It's not Kathy Hochul. It's Larry Sharpe. He's the only one who's declared and actually said, I'm running for the governorship, and is out campaigning at this moment. That's it. There is no one else. So when they say other, who do they mean? It must be Larry Sharpe, a libertarian. I say that not just because I support Larry Sharpe, but because these are the facts as they exist. They're trying to boost up Elise Stefanik because polling done by Kathy Hochul said that Kathy Hochul would win by about 20 or 30 points. Independent polling says that Kathy Hochul at this moment would win before Larry Sharpe got into the race by 20 points. Now Elise is looking at this, and why is she trying to get people to think it's a race just between Elise Stefanik, who I have met, and Kathy Hochul? Because 9% breaks the race. That 9%, Larry Sharpe, is the guy who has all the cards. He's the one who makes the difference in that race. If Larry Sharpe were to endorse, if in three-way race, that means that Larry Sharpe gets to decide. They're basically statistically tied. So the voters under Larry Sharpe would make the decision. The independents would make the decision on who becomes governor of New York. That's why they put the name down as other, even though the color they use is gold, which is traditionally the Libertarian Party. And the Libertarian Party is one of the largest independent parties in New York. Normally, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm a Republican. But in this race, where I'm looking at Elise Stefanik, who really doesn't want to be governor, but she'll take it, or Kathy Hochul, who absolutely wants the job, but she's miserable at it, I'd rather have Larry Sharpe, who's actually got solutions. He actually has plans that neither of the other two candidates actually have. He has solutions. But they're already trying to set up the table. They're already trying to set the tone. And that is very upsetting. All right, let me take a quick stop here to go over just some of the comments real quick. So, John Lashcombe came in with the algorithm. Thank you, John. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Dal says, of course, polls are manipulated. Anymore, polls are about as useful as pogo sticks in a tar pit. It's the trend of polls. One of the things I always recommend to everybody, never look at any one poll, because just like the poll here from the Manhattan Institute, they can be very biased. And very often, most polls are biased. But if you're looking at the trend of polls, especially those that are actually independent or non-biased, if you look at nonpartisan, I should say, if you look at the trend in the polls, even if you're looking at the partisan polls, and if you look at the trend over time, you will see the reality of where the public really stands. Because even if you have a poll that is being manipulated, you still see the truth. Like, they can't say that Elise Stefanik is winning by 20 points. That's beyond the pale. No one would believe it. Saying that she's tied, no one really believes that either, but at least it looks more credible than saying she's 20 points ahead. And it makes it look like she has a fighting chance against Kathy Hochul, which I don't think she does. And I'm a Republican because she doesn't have a plan. And in fact, Elise Stefanik hasn't even come out and said she's going to run. And she probably won't come out and say she's running until January, unless Larry Sharpe gains more support. If he increases, if internal polling shows that he's not at 9%, but he's at 12 or 15, she'll come out before December or the first week of December and say, oh, no, I'm running. But unless the polling goes against her, she's not going to say a word. She's going to wait until January, maybe February, to actually announce that she's going to be a candidate because she's not confident. But that's another thing altogether. Yeah. We just went out. Okay, I'll get him out in a little bit. I'm going to get to him very quickly. Sorry, we're talking with my family about my dog. My 14-year-old dog, who I took out just before the show started to try and avoid him interrupting the show now. But let's see, go through the comments real quick. So Kim is very much in favor of Larry and supporting him. She says that it looks like Stefanik is leading and we don't know. Everyone wants to vote for the winner. Yeah, as I said, it's still way up in the air about this. This is not clear. Okay, so my dog is screaming at me right now. Kind of, sort of. He's screaming at me. He wants to get attention. He wants to go out. Even though we were just walking out before the show started. I wasn't expecting to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some of my interview with Larry Sharpe for a little bit. We should be gone 15-ish minutes, and then I'll come back and finish the show. We still have to talk not just about the Zoran Mandami, but the government shutdown. We need to talk about food stamps. I think that's very important. I want to talk to you about what else was there? Well, the food stamps is a big deal, and whether or not there will be food stamp riots in America. We'll talk a little bit about Charlie Sheen. We'll talk a little bit about John Fetterman. We'll talk a little bit about, there's a news story. No, which one was it? Oh, God. And there was another story. So we got a little bit more to talk about. But let me play the interview with Larry Sharpe. I'll leave up the comments. Bingo. And I'll leave comments up. And I will be back as quickly as possible. I know it's a Saturday night. I don't want to be on too long. I won't be on late. But we do have a little bit more to talk about. So I'll talk to you all very shortly. Larry Sharpe. How are you, Larry?
My brother Michael, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. And I'm happy to have you here on the program. As I'm mentioning in the intro, you're crazy busy right now. It's been quite
True.
The last 30 days for you. And that's because, well, I'll let you describe it yourself.
We announced that we're running for governor. Governor of New York, the third time. Yes, I am insane. We actually, this is our third time doing it, and it's going to be our best chance to make it happen, and people know it. Some people say, well, wait a minute, Larry, why would you do a third time? There are several reasons. One of them is I've learned a lot. I've learned how to make this better, how this actually works, what we should be doing. And this is the best time for New York State for two reasons. One, you see New York State wants change. I mean, Mamdani in New York City is a symptom of New York City people desperately wanting change. Well, here I am. Not just that. Look, New York State has made it to where independent parties are just basically destroyed. They are gone. They're devastated. Someone's got to bring them back. We're not going to be able to change this state unless we're going to be able to create some single issue coalitions. And you know that right now, if you're a Democrat and you want to change something and Republicans agree, you can't go to them because Republicans are evil. You can't do that. If you're a Republican and you want to go to a Democrat, you can't because, oh my God, I'll get primaried. So you can't have that conversation. But if there is a third party, if there is someone running independently, that person can be the center that others can get around, right? But it's a second piece of that. If we have actual third parties, we can move the major parties. If you're in New York State and you wish you had better Democrats or you wish you had better Republicans, if you have a third party, it'll change. And here is my perfect example, RFK Jr. Donald Trump didn't have any policies on food or medicine. That wasn't part of his thing. He was doing his own thing, right? Tons of other issues to deal with. Him or his team or both, I don't know who did it, but either he gets credit, whether it was him or his team, saw that RFK Jr. had millions of votes sitting in his pocket. 3 million, 2 million, 4 million, whatever, millions of votes. And they were like, you know what? We could use those votes. That could get us our mandate. That could get us not just win the election, but that could get us beating Harris in a popular vote and get the mandate that we need. So you know what? Maha it is. And all of a sudden now, Trump's got food and Trump's got nutrition. And you might say to yourself, but Larry, I don't want that stuff. I don't care about that stuff. Maybe you don't. But then you should find your guy or gal that has the issues that you care about, have them run independent, and that can move the major parties to do what you want them to do. That can't happen if we don't have independent parties.
Okay. And by the way, let me take a step back before I go any further. And people may notice that I was laughing when you mentioned Republicans are evil. A lot of people may not know, and you've been on my program 5 or 6 times. We've known each other for just under 10 years now.
Yep.
You're a personal friend like myself. You're a Marine. We both live in New York City right now, and we see each other on a regular basis.
Yep.
And we go at each other. When we agree wonderfully.
Sure.
When we disagree, it's a 3-hour conversation, and yet
True.
we're still friends.
Yes.
So people, I don't want anyone to see that I was laughing at that statement and think, oh my God, anything about that. This is how we speak. This is us.
Yeah.
We're real.
And to be forward, I don't think Republicans are evil, but
No.
you know that many Democrats do.
Yes, very much. I know that.
Yes.
But you're nowhere in that. That's why I thought it was so funny, because that's the media line. That's the message we get, especially in New York State or in California, Illinois. The blue
New
is
York
the
City.
state. Huh?
New York City.
Oh, yeah. Wherever it's blue, where it's deep blue, that's the message that gets out there. It's not realistic. And I have to say, in the many years that I've known you now, and we've talked many times, various places across New York and otherwise, the number of people that surround you who are anything but libertarian. You've got Republicans that have conversation with you, Democrats. I've been present when we're out and about at various political events, and individuals from every political party speak with you on a regular basis. So it's just funny that we've become so politicized, but yet individually, some of us are very cross the board.
Absolutely. Generally speaking, I think, Mike, I think most Americans want a similar outcome. Not all. Some want really bad outcomes. But if you ask the average American wants a similar outcome to the other American next to him or her. Most of the time, that's true. The question becomes, do we get fooled by elites who actually don't want the same outcomes as us? That's option one. And option two, do we believe the narrative that, no, the other guy is evil, so whatever he or she is saying is obviously a lie because they're evil? Or worse, three, which I think is the most common, we just disagree on how to get there, even though we want to be in the same spot. I think all three of those are true.
Well, that brings up a great question. And even though I know you as a personal friend, and I have known about your run for governor because I am your friend, you let me know ahead of time. And I do support you, even though I am a conservative Republican. I do publicly announce that I support you completely. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be nice to you in the interview. Not that I'm a mean person, but I'm not going to
Sometimes
give you
you're
any
mean.
favors.
You can be mean. You can be mean.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yes.
Because looking at New York,
Yep.
and it's very much a reflection of the entire country. The top issues that everyone's looking at, they're looking at their lifestyle, their living
Yes.
comfort, which may include housing for some people. They're looking at crime in their communities,
Sure.
which very often also may have some aspect of illegal aliens in it.
Sure.
They're looking at,
Particularly in poorer neighborhoods.
especially in poorer neighborhoods,
Yep.
and they're looking at their future, their livelihood going forward, whether it be wealth or whether it be raising their kids or just their retirement. These are especially critical issues in New York State. So I know it's a big, broad issue, but let me ask you, how are you looking, if you get to be governor this time, how can you address those issues when we've seen, well, only Democrats for the last 23 years have failed at that? So what is your approach?
Yeah. One of the most important things is looking for how do we wean New Yorkers off of taxation. Now that may seem odd, but that's the key. Now, right away, most people go, wait a minute, like, that means you're going to start cutting stuff and now we're all going to starve to death. And that's what I hear. And the reality is, no, I don't want people to starve. I want us to find other ways of raising money, other ways of paying for things that we need. And also something else, I want our communities to be able to step up again to support people. People do fall down. It happens. People make mistakes. People get unlucky. That happens all the time. My issue is what we do is go, oh, let's have a government program for it. And then we create a industrial complex around it. As you saw in New York, we created a migrant industrial complex. We created a homeless industrial complex. Well, we've created a poverty industrial complex. That's why we can't. That's why now the government shut down and, oh my God, we're all going to starve to death. Why? We made a welfare industrial complex, right? We make these industrial complexes that are never meant to go away. Now, I think the people who initially supported it, now who started it, people who started it knew it was a scam. But the people who supported thought, oh, this is going to be helpful. This is a good thing. We care about people. And I thought the people who supported it probably thought it was a good idea. They can't imagine that it's not. They can't imagine this is not how it should work. They can't imagine it. And they're like, we have to just do this. Democrats are saying it right now with the shutdown. Oh, we have to keep the Obama subsidies going. Not accepting that Obamacare has failed. They can't imagine it. It's just, well, this is how it's supposed to be. New York State has a similar issue. So we have to start focusing on that. The one thing I bring up constantly is the idea of finding alternatives to taxation. One of them is the New York State Social Trust. This is basically like a sovereign fund for New York State. What does that mean? We create an actual fund, which is separate from the government. Let me say it again. Separate from the government. It has its own CEO, its own board. If it is part of the government will just take it and wreck it. Just like the lottery. Remember the lottery was supposed to be for, yeah. They just take it and wreck it.
Supposed to be for education. Never used a dime of it for education.
Never used a dime for it. Exactly right. Yes, just took it. Now, how do I know that? Because that's how Norway does it, and that's how Singapore does it. It's a separate company with a separate CEO and a charter. Why does that matter? When they're spending money, they will be efficient because they're private sector. So we know that will happen. Not just that. Their goal was to raise money, so they will. How do I know that? Because all these sovereign funds raise money. All of them do. Every one of them. None of them fail. So this one will also succeed. Plus, we are New York City. This is the financial capital of our nation. If we can't do it, pack it in. It's done. Ball game's over. Pack it in. It's fine. Let's just, we're going to give it to China. Who are we selling out to? Russia? Who are we selling out to? I don't know. Whoever the sellout we're selling out to, let's just sell out now because it's over, right? So that has to actually work. It can work. When that begins to work, we need several things. We can put whatever we want into it. If we want to put in some precious metals, if we want to put in some tax money to start off, if we want to sell and or lease state land, we can do that too. If we want to put cryptocurrency in it, that's fine too. Whatever we think is going to work, drawing people in, allowing the financial sector to do what it does best. Instead of investing in what they are now, real estate, taking up our farmland, taking up our housing. Give them something else to actually invest in. They invest in this will go wild. Again, how do I know this? Because sovereign funds very often, for those of you who are in a financial world, know, very often in today's world, the sovereign funds are the biggest players. They are very often the biggest players. Not always, but very often. They're one of the biggest players. There's a big deal going on. A sovereign fund has something to do with it. They got to cut. They got to cut. They're 10%, 20%, whatever. They got to cut. They're in the biggest deals in the world right now. We should be part of that, making that money. The first thing that thing can do is that can begin to pay for schooling, education. As it begins to pay for education, it will be by default, it will be more efficient. Why? It's paying for it. As it begins to pay for it, we make sure two things happen. No strings attached. It's not government. No strings attached. It is to give a flat fee to every single district per student. So the money by default follows the kid. Number one, we don't have that now. That's important for it to do. The money follows the kid. Second piece, once that happens, we do not require federal funds or state funds, which means no federal strings, no state strings. Local people actually control their own school district. Right now, they don't. So now we have problems with, oh, the teacher is a bad teacher and they got to sit in the thing and get paid for. Oh, now it's local. You do what you want now. Well, you can't because this doesn't matter. Well, the teachers unions, who cares? They have no power anymore. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's relevant.
I can see a few unions being upset about.
Oh, they're not going to vote for me anyway. If I win without them. So it's not like the union's going to be like, oh, we love Larry Sharpe. So if I win, I win without them.
Yeah, they only support Democrats. We've all
correct. So that's irrelevant. So
yeah.
it's relevant. But I got to go to the next spot. Teachers actually love this. It's administrators who don't. Teachers actually support me because the problem's not the teachers. The problem's the administrators.
True.
When we start getting rid of all these administrators, teachers go, oh my God, I'm free. The average teacher in New York State makes about 70, 80K a year. The average administrator makes 2 or 3 times that. There are administrators in New York State right now who make $400,000 a year. And they don't even see any kids. They don't even see any kids. These are all people who are bureaucrats to keep the state and the federal government happy. They will begin to go away. We'll have principals and vice principals like we used to have when you and I were growing up. And somehow you and I learn how to read and write. Somehow we learn how to survive. Somehow we did, right?
We made
somehow. We did. We made the internet, right? We somehow did this, right? With just principals and vice principals in schools. That will begin to happen. And that part's great, but I have to go one step further. Not only will that make education better, but for those of you in New York, you know, if you own a home, about half of your property tax is school tax, depending upon where you are in a state, but it's around half. Some places it's higher than half, some places less, but it's in that area around half, which means overall, once they're paying for school, no need for school tax. That means your property tax is cut in half. A lot of people can stay in their home now. A lot of people can afford to stay here in New York State once that happens. So we do that, things begin to change. And again, I did it without raising taxes, better schooling. Now, over time, that will raise. Let me give you an example of that. Right now, if you look at places like Norway and Singapore, the amount of money they have in their sovereign fund is insane. They have almost $1 trillion in their sovereign fund. There's only 5 million people in Norway.
True.
There's only 5 million people in Singapore. And they got $1 trillion. If I got $1 trillion, 5 million people, you get healthcare. You get healthcare. Everybody gets healthcare. I got $1 trillion and 5 million people. Who cares, right? Now, I'm not saying we should do that. But what I'm saying is, once we can deal with that with education over time, why can't we maybe take some of the burden off of the counties for Medicare and Medicaid? If we start taking some of the burden off, they can start rethinking healthcare. And that's what I want. Right now, the reason why people aren't rethinking healthcare is because they're afraid of no safety net. They are worried. Fear is what's stopping us. It is. Fear is stopping us. Oh my God. You see it now, Mike. Everyone's scared. Oh my God. Obamacare is not going to be there. The world's going to end. Obamacare made things worse. I know.
Make things worse.
It made things worse. That's why the government has to write us big checks, because the government made things worse. Now, but that's the problem. People, the fear is still there. But if I can tell you, don't worry. If things go bad, the sovereign fund can take care of it. The fear goes away. And now we go, all right, let's rethink healthcare because we have this safety net here. And that's the point. That can help tremendously.
Okay. So part of the answer is creating the sovereign fund.
Yep.
Taking out the federal government, taking out the state government, getting rid of the regulations. And in the case of education, I do know this stat very much off the top of my head. Since 1980, we've seen the biggest growth in cost for education has been middle management. It's been administrators. They've actually tripled the cost of how many administrators we have, and therefore the cost has gone up as well. And that's just people moving paperwork around. So that does address one of the biggest concerns. It's all the paperwork, which is taking up all the money, because we haven't increased any money on books and supplies. We haven't increased the money for teachers. It's just administrators. So,
well, I'll add a piece to that, Mike. You're exactly right. And the problem is a lot of people don't even know what is the right thing to do because they're controlled by federal guidelines. Imagine if now all of a sudden there's your money, there's no grants, there it is. And now locally you can decide, should we hire more teachers, or should we give teachers raises, or should we buy more computers? I don't know what the answer is. Hopefully, locally, they'll start doing that. Some school districts will hire more teachers. Some will give raises. Some will get more, whatever. And now we can see, oh, that didn't work. Oh, that works better. Oh, they're doing better. Or they're happier. And how we know? Remember, I'm districting, but I'm not telling you where the kids have to go. So if parents decide to put their kids in different districts, they may. And we'll see which districts work. Not just that. With my plan, it's $18,000 per year with a $6,000 credit if people want to homeschool or private school. Now, why only that amount? Because I still want the kids to be able to use the public facilities. So you homeschool your kid, you can still be in a football team. You private school your kid, you can still be in a math club. I want communities to stay together, even if the kids are educated differently. Now, how we know what's working and what's not? If half of your kids are homeschooled or private schooled, your public school is not working.
That's true.
It's not working.
Well,
it isn't. Yes, but what will happen is they'll have to respond in some way. Mm-hmm. So as they respond, because there'll be less kids in the district, what'll start happening, right? There'll be problems. People look and go, why is only 10% of the population in a public school district? Wow, these guys suck. No one will do what they do. They'll have to change, is my point, right? That will have to begin to shift. And the market and the people in the communities will go, yeah, this is the way we want things to be done. We want it this way. We want it that way. And they will by default get better.
See, I like, you know what I always loved? And since the first time that we met, which was supposed to be a 15-minute interview, wound up being 2.5 hours. And I grilled you. That was me being mean. But we got a lot answered. But what I've always noticed is you always have a solution to the issue. Not just a promise, not just an idea, but an actual solution. Whether I agree with every one of them or not is immaterial to the fact that you have thought it out, you have a solution, you have a target, and we can work towards that. And sadly, I have to say, I know for a fact Democrats don't. They say throw more money at it.
No, they go orange man bad.
Well, that too. That's the new thing. Is orange man bad, then they say throw money at it.
Then money, yes.
And Republicans, and I'm a Republican, one of our biggest problems is in New York State, we keep saying, yeah, but they're bad guys. We don't have a solution. And that's upsetting. But
here's the weird part about Republicans here. And I'm going to give Republicans a bit of credit here. When it comes to the country, Republicans actually have answers.
Yes.
But when it comes to New York State, they've given up.
Yes. Sadly.
So that's why you hear me. I don't say the GOP has no answers. I say the New York State GOP has no answers because it is different. New York State GOP has given up. You see it with Curtis Sliwa. You and I discussed this before. They gave up on Sliwa way before he even started. This is an issue. This is an issue of New York State GOP thinking they cannot win, knowing they cannot win, and self-sabotaging to ensure they don't. This is a New York GOP issue. This is not a GOP nationwide issue.
No, I agree with you. And it's sad. And I'm willing to give critique where it deserves to be, because just because I'm a Republican doesn't mean they get a pass on that. So I'm calling them out for what they did wrong. And you're right. You know, they should have stood behind Sliwa, but also that indicates they should be standing behind Republican candidates across the state and providing.
And they don't.
And they're not. So, and I want a solution. New York needs solutions, not promises, not being willing to take second best, but we need solutions. But in listening to the Sovereign Fund, looking at the ways it can be applied to a couple of major issues that everyone in America, everyone in New York is looking at: healthcare, education. These are big issues that we don't really have a solution for. And sitting back and saying, well, it's their fault, doesn't answer it. But it also doesn't do something that we hear a lot in New York. And we've seen this with Mandami in particular. I like to say it's free stuff, but it's a little bit of free stuff, and I'm giving you something. The government is going to give you something, and you don't have to do anything. You're just going to get stuff. Now, the truth is, you
deserve it.
Huh? Yeah, you're entitled to it. You deserve
You're entitled to it.
And then on the back end, well, now we didn't mention it up front, but on the back end, we're just going to be taking a lot of your freedoms. We're going to raise the cost of everything.
No, we're going to magically tax the rich, Mike, and they're just going to pay. God, don't you listen?
Yeah, they're rich. They're going to move. They're going to move because they already are. 200 to 300,000 New Yorkers every year for the last decade have been leaving, taking about $20 billion with them. Businesses, property, wealth, family, they're gone. Right. So considering that we're looking at this new wave under the Mandami Democratic Socialists of America movement, and they're trying to make it a movement, that they're saying, well, we're going to just give you free stuff. And policies that have failed, have proven to fail everywhere else in the country. But that's a pattern. People get used to that idea.
Yes.
How do you think they're going to take your idea? And let's just look at the sovereign fund. How are they going to deal with that? How do you address that?
My hope is that they will actually just want to put me on a stage and debate me. Now, will the leaders want that? No, but I hope the people will. The advantage that you have talking about a sovereign fund, even if you hate it, and some people don't like it, at least now they have to talk about it. And that's the key, because now I can ask the question, what's your answer? Why is Mamdani doing so well in New York City? Well, because they're all lefties. That isn't the reason why. He's doing well because he actually has answers and Cuomo has none. That's why, right? Cuomo has no answer. In theory, Cuomo should be winning, right? He's a former governor. He's got all the blah, blah, blah. He should be, right? He's clearly not, but he should be. Why not? Because he has no answers. And that's the issue. He does not have answers. And Mamdani does. So, and what happens? Now they've talked about answers. If they don't, people get upset. My hope is they'll talk about my answers. Now, sometimes they get mad at me, which is good. Because they go, that can't work because, or worse, that doesn't work because capitalism. That's a big issue, right? Because capitalism. Capitalism by default in many Americans' eyes, sadly, as you know, you've seen the polls. There's a lot of Americans now who think capitalism is just bad because capitalism. That's a reason for it to be bad. Because capitalism.
Makes no
sense. Yes. But again, we have done, as Americans in general, we have done a very poor job giving them an answer other than capitalism bad. Oh, the system doesn't work, right? They know the system doesn't work. That they're sure of. But they don't know what the answer is to repair that system. So when enough people on the left go, see, it's because capitalism, it's normal. That's how it works, blah, blah, blah. If they just keep saying that, people actually go, I guess that makes sense. You've heard me say 1,000 times. When people have a bad answer or no answer, they take the bad answer. So my thought process is they'll hate my answer. Good. Then show me yours. Let's have this conversation. What will they do as a general rule? The left will dismiss me. Just dismiss me. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, it's capitalism. He's bad. He's not the right kind of brown person or whatever they say there, right? You know what I'm talking about. They'll do that, right? Yeah. Whatever it is. They'll call me an hysterophobe or something like that, and then they'll just dismiss me.
Right.
But the people may not, because when they're looking for answers, you see me. I go on left-leaning shows constantly.
Savvy Sounds, one of the examples. Mm-hmm.
I go on there and I talk. I get insulted in the chat. I get brutalized in the chat. But that's fine. I have the conversations, and always some of them go, yeah, he's not bad. Some always do that. I don't know what percentage that is, but I'll take the 5 or 10% I get, because those people, if they actually turn them, boy, do they turn. I'll give you some libertarian inside baseball here. The right comes to us faster, but the right also leaves faster. The left doesn't come to us easy at all. but when the left comes, they stay. Some of our best activists are former lefties or former Democrats, because when that person actually shifts, it is like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And they hate the left. When that person does turn, and one of my best examples is Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is one of the best libertarian thinkers in the country that we have, and he used to be a Marxist.
Yep.
So it's harder to get the left to turn to us. It is. But when we get them, oh my God. So I want both. The right's easier to come, and they make more of our foot soldiers. But when the left comes, oh my God, they're super soldiers. They're all Captain America. So I need a couple Captain Americas too. So yes.
Hey, Thomas Sowell is a great Captain America.
Correct. Yes.
But since we're talking about, well, these changes, the oh my God, I was muted again. I must have bumped into it. You can hear me now, I think. So I did say that I was thanking John. I was showing the message from Jimmy. And basically what I was saying is, Jimmy, you gave me a feeling, which says BS. But I've been talking about 6 different candidates: Zoran Mandami, Elise Stefanik, Kathy Hochul, Cory Booker, and Larry Sharpe. Which one are you talking about? I've talked a little bit about the elections going forward. Oh, and I left out Kat Abu. So saying BS, what does that mean? Just saying BS doesn't mean anything to me. So I need more than that. I need a little bit more than that. And I also mentioned that I thank John Lashcombe, for the super chat of $9.99. So thank you very much for that, John. I appreciate it. Let me see. When I'm talking to you guys, I don't get to see the text as it goes up. So I apologize for that. Let's see. Everyone's talking about Larry Sharpe, which is cool. Did I catch up now? Joel says I have to fire the sound guy. I am the sound guy. I just happened to bump into, when I turned my mic back on, I bumped it and it went mute. So I didn't know that it was cut off. So, all right. Well, that being said, let me get back to the show at hand. I was going to go and we left off. Oh, so we left off, I believe, because my dog at 14 years needed to go out. So we were talking about the poll, about Elise Stefanik, how she does against, and Delgado isn't really a factor. That's not a real race. But they put that out there. Again, that tells you how biased it is. No one is polling for Antonio Delgado. No one is doing that. And he hasn't even said that he's running for the governor's race. He said that he's considering it. He didn't say he is. So again, no one's polling for that. No one cares. It's not serious. So we kind of knew that. But I thought it was very interesting that Elise Stefanik is really feeling her pressure, or at least some of her supporters are feeling a lot of pressure right now because they're in 2026. Again, the people who are into politics, the candidates and such, we're already in the 2026 election. Everyone's going to vote on Tuesday for 2025. All of the politicians, the candidates, we're all in 2026. And Elise Stefanik, some of her supporters are coming out now with this new thing, which is that, Elise Stefanik is now Supergirl. This is a really bad ad, by the way. This is a horrible meme. First of all, if she's being Supergirl, no one cares about Supergirl. There is no Superwoman, and Supergirl isn't a popular character. Even for DC, she's not popular. So maybe she's trying to be Superwoman. That doesn't exist. So comic book fans really don't like this because it's silly. You basically gender swapped Superman for Elise Stefanik, and it doesn't work on that level. She's saying that she's going to save New York. She has no policies. She hasn't even said that she's going to run. How is she going to save New York if she hasn't even gotten the will from February until now? That's 7 months. She's had 7 months to say, I'm running. That's all she has to say. And she hasn't done it. How is she going to save New York if she can't even say the words, I'm running, that I'm in the race? So again, it doesn't work. But you got to think about it. Why did they do this? They did this today. This came out earlier this morning. Why did they put up this post? Well, the answer very simply is because, by the way, Larry Sharpe came up with this. He's holding all the cards. He has the 9% that decides who actually wins the New York state governor's race. If it isn't Larry Sharpe himself, his 9% makes the difference. His 9% guarantees the winner. That's the whole thing. So they saw that meme and they decided, we're going to go with Supergirl. Doesn't make any sense. It makes sense. Larry Sharpe, he has 9%. It's a tied race. That 9% breaks the tie. His meme makes sense. Supergirl doesn't make sense at all on multiple levels. I just wanted to put that out there. Elise, whoever you hired, you should have hired me. I came to you in February. I told you how you could win this race. I sent it through your people. I went through the channels. You've never responded. You should have hired me. You really should have. But that's another thing altogether. Anyway, so let's move forward. Let's move forward and talk about the government shutdown. Because right now, you are hearing from the mainstream news media. This is Good Morning America. Obamacare enrollees see a 300% premium increase. Oh my God, the government shut down. It's the Republicans. They're so evil. They did such a bad job. Donald Trump has failed you. No, he hasn't. The reason why there's a 300% increase is because Obamacare failed. It failed from day one. Do you remember what Obamacare was said it was going to do? That Obamacare would reduce medical costs. It has never done that. Since 2010 to today, it has never reduced medical costs. In addition to that, you were told you would have any doctor that you wanted. It didn't do that. That was a lie. Matter of fact, that was the biggest lie in 2012, according to PolitiFact. The biggest lie of 2012. You can keep your doctor. It was a lie. It didn't save you money, and you didn't get to have your doctor, and it hasn't achieved any of the promises of 2010. Not one. It is so broken that they have never fully implemented Obamacare. That's a fact. You don't have to believe me. Look it up. Obamacare has never been fully implemented. It is so broken that whether under Democrats, under Obama, under Biden, it has never been fully put in place because it doesn't work. They're taking your tax dollars and they're giving it to, they're bribing insurance companies so that they can run Obamacare with the ever increasing cost, which isn't what Obamacare is supposed to do. So it's a complete failure. But they want to blame it on Trump. Here's the other thing to think about. In 2024, Biden had the power, the Democrats had the power to fund Obamacare. They didn't. Democrats could have funded Obamacare past 2025. They didn't. They could have gave it an extension. They could have made the extra money. They could have already planned. They didn't because they don't care. This was their excuse. They were planning well ahead. If Biden, Harris, whomever the Democrats picked, if they lost, they would have this in their back pocket to be able to say, oh, see, it's the Republicans' fault because the prices went up. They were always going to go up. They have always, since the day this was passed, it has always gone up. But they knew that if they lose, and they expected to lose, they knew Joe Biden would lose. They knew Kamala Harris would lose. They knew that as just like the sun's going to rise tomorrow in the East. They knew that this was going to be that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would lose. So they needed some insurance, some way to make Donald Trump and Republicans look bad. And they knew all we have to do is wait. Obamacare isn't fully funded. Obamacare doesn't matter if the government was funded or not. Obamacare's prices were going up because that's all they do. So they had a guarantee that in October, they would be able to blame the increase in price on Obamacare on Republicans and Trump. They knew that. And they've just been waiting because they did it on purpose. Because if they actually cared about you, if they actually cared about healthcare prices, they would have already funded it. But they didn't. So I know ABC is doing what ABC does. They are being a shill for Democrats and saying it's the Republicans' fault. It's the shutdown's fault. Well, let's think about the shutdown. Again, just like we were talking about before, all the Republicans in the House voted to keep the government open. They did their job. They can't do anything else. According to the Constitution, there's nothing else they can do. They went home. They're talking to their constituents, as the Constitution says they must, because it's not about them anymore. They did their job. Senate Republicans have all voted to fund the government. 2 Democrats, John Fetterman and the other Pennsylvania Democrat, voted to fund the government. 5 Democrats is all that's needed. The Democrats, other than John Fetterman and the other Pennsylvania senator, have not. They voted no. Who closed the government? Who caused Obamacare to go up? If you want to believe ABC News and the way that they are presenting this to you, because they're not wrong, but it's the way they're presenting it to you. That's what's the lie. They're not giving you the context. They're not giving you the background. They're not giving you the details. They want you to forget what happened in 2010. They want you to forget what happened in 2012, 2016, what has happened every year since Obamacare got passed. If you want to look at it that way, the reason why it went up, you want to say it's because of the shutdown? Who shut down the government? Democrats. That's it. Democrats are at fault, not the Republicans. They've tried 13 times in the Senate to pass the clean resolution to open the government. Democrats keep saying no. You want to tell me that Obamacare went up? Blame Democrats. Blame your local Democrat. They're the ones in charge. They made a bad law. They have kept a bad law alive, and they're now trying to blame anyone and everyone else for their failure. They failed in 2010, and we're living with that failure today, 15 years later. That's the truth. Democrats may not like that truth. They may be pissed off about it. It is the truth. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. But I don't know how else to point that out. And by the way, Democrats have been stupid about this. Now, I just want to show you, many of you may know, I used to live in Broome County in Binghamton, New York. I lived there for about 20 years. I had a house out there until I lost the house. I lived in there. I was very much involved with the politics. And this is an image from Broome County, from Binghamton itself. Jason Garnar, the guy on the far left here, I know him personally. I have his phone number. Leah Webb, I've interviewed her. I know her from her time on Binghamton City Council. That's Donna Lopardo. I've done about 4 or 5 interviews with Donna Lopardo, including when she voted for red flag laws. And I sat down and on the record asked her, is it going to keep people safe? She said no. I asked her if this would be abused. She said yes. She voted for it anyway, and she knew how flawed. In fact, she said on the record, I have the video, it was a live stream, and she said, it is a flawed bill. It needs to be fixed. She voted for it. It never got fixed, and the exact version she voted for passed. That's the law of New York State now. So, yes, I know Donna Lopardo. I've known her for well over a decade. 15, 16 years. I've known her. I know that's Jared Cram. He's the mayor of Binghamton. I knew him before he was even the lieutenant mayor. Yeah, and I know him too. Doesn't matter. So, yeah, I know them all. And here's the thing. They came out yesterday, October 31st, Halloween, on Friday, and they're saying, hey, you can call 211. If you're going to lose food stamps, if you're not going to be able to feed your family, if you have need, hey, you can go. We have this. There's a huge amount of community outreach. There's a lot of churches. There's an organization called Chow that will help provide food while the government is shut down. Why did they wait until October 31st? And this is a microcosm of the entire nation. We knew since the beginning of October that the government was shut down. We knew that coming up in November, if there wasn't an agreement, that food stamps would be cut. We knew since forever that the billionaires that are Democrats, Oprah, Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, Jeff Bezos, they're not going to donate a single dime to feed a single family in America through food stamps. They're not going to voluntarily make any payments like we saw Tim Mellon do. A billionaire Republican, he actually donated to fund and pay for the United States military to get checks. Okay, no one in the Democratic Party has stepped up to do that. Not one. You would think just to go into the PR battle, just to look good, and to balance out what Tim Mellon, a Republican, did for the military, that one of the Democrats, they have plenty of billionaires, at least one of them would step up and at least make some kind of payment just to show that they care. They didn't. They don't care. This isn't about you getting fed. They waited until October 31st to tell people, hey, there's all these programs to help you get fed if you don't have food stamps. Why didn't you say this 2 weeks ago? Why didn't you say this 3 weeks ago? Why didn't you say this when the government shut down and come out full bore, local community, and say, hey, here's all the local community things we need to tell you now. We're going to tell you again every day until the government opens up, just in case, just so you can be prepared. They waited for the last moment because they wanted people to try and blame Republicans. They wanted this. They want this because they think this is going to put pressure on Republicans so that they can get their wish list of Democrat goals, $1.5 trillion to help pay for illegal aliens. That's what they have been fighting for. They call it everything else. They'll try and bring up anything else. It's to help pay for illegal aliens. The very thing that the American people voted against. We voted in unison. Donald Trump promised to mass deport illegal aliens. He got elected. He's been trying to mass deport illegal aliens. California has fought him on this to be able to break the law, to keep illegal aliens in America, to keep you paying for the illegal aliens. In Chicago, they're fighting. The Democratic Socialists of America, the left, the far left in Chicago, are fighting against law enforcement so they can break the law, so they can make Chicago a sanctuary city. They're being backed up by a billionaire, J.B. Pritzker, and Brandon Johnson, a mayor who only has a 6% approval rate, and they're fighting against the government so that Chicago can be a sanctuary city so they can take your taxpayer money and give it to illegal aliens. Same thing in Portland, same thing in New York, same thing in Boston. It's very straightforward. They're doing this to you on purpose. They want to blame everyone else, but it's the failure of the Democrat policies in the first place. The root problem is Obamacare. The root problem is illegal immigration and open borders. The root problem are the policies of Democrats that brought us to where we are today. If their policies actually worked, we wouldn't have this problem. Everything would be fine. But just as we have predicted on this program for 8 years and 2 decades that I've been doing this, we've been predicting this. We knew this was going to fail day one, whether that's Obamacare, whether it's the Bidenomics, whether it's the Democrat policies, economic policies, they have all failed every single time. And their answer to you is more taxes, more spending, more of their wish list of ideas rather than let's actually help the people, because they want you to be in pain. They don't actually fix anything. They don't solve anything. They don't have solutions for anything, because the longer you're in pain, the longer they can blame it on anyone and everyone else to get your money and to keep power. That's what this is really about. If there's any Democrat that disagrees with me, if there is any Democratic politician in America that would like to debate me on this, I am happy to make sure that we debate this. I will debate with any elected Democrat about these issues anywhere in America, anytime. Just send me the message. I will go anywhere. Buy me the plane ticket. I will fly over and I will have the debate in any college that you would like to have it in. Because it's true. Because the data has shown us the failure over and over and over again. Whether it's Obama or Biden in office, it doesn't make a difference. I just thought this was interesting. And I know these people. I know everyone in that room, every single one of them. And I know that they're not dumb people. They're not evil people. Donna's not evil. Jason isn't evil. Jared isn't evil. They're not evil people. And I know they knew they would have to tell the people of Binghamton, the people of Broome County, that for those poor people, and most of those poor people, by the way, are white, not black, but they knew that the community, some of them need food. They're already lines everywhere. The Chow, which is one of the food organizations, one of the organizations, private organizations that donates food, they've had lines since back in 2019, 2018. I know. I lived in Binghamton. And they were giving out food, and the food, there would be lines. I think I've done videos on it where I can show people the line waiting to get this food back in 2018, back in 2016, 2014. So this isn't new. They knew they'd have to make this announcement. Why did they wait to the last minute? It's because they don't care about you. That's the truth of it. I truly believe that. And if Donna, you have my, well, I think you have my old phone number, Donna. But if you want my phone number, you have my email. My email hasn't changed. Donna, you know how to reach me. Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo. If you want to reach me, tell me, Mike, you got it wrong. You know, Donna, I've interviewed you before. I will put you back on, and I will put you on live, and we can have this discussion. Jason Garnar, I know you. I know your father. Again, you should have my phone number, and even if you don't, you have my email. If you think I'm wrong, and you're the county executive, you want to have this debate, no problem. You know I will put you on. I've done it before. We can have this discussion. You guys know me. Same thing for you, Jared Crum, mayor of Binghamton. You guys all have my phone number. You all have my email. You know I will put you on any day you want, and you know I will give you all the time. I will not edit you. It will be live, and we can discuss this. And you can tell me how I'm wrong. Except you won't, because you know I'm right. And you know I know what I'm talking about. So there's that. But, hey, let them know. And I know you guys all watch this program from time to time, so there is that. But see, the hype is out there right now, and Democrats are trying to fearmonger so hard. Nearly 42 million Americans lose their food stamps. Why did they lose the food stamps? Why? By the way, 42 million. The problem should be 42 million Americans are on food stamps. Why are nearly, be about 15%? Why is 15% of America on food stamps? That's problem number one. That 15% of America needs food stamps. That's your first problem. That's the first issue. And that's not an issue that just popped up because Donald Trump is in office. That's been a problem forever. We're talking 30 years. This has been a problem under Democrats, under Republicans, all the way going back decades. So you can't tell me that it's a Donald Trump issue, because there were like 40. I remember the last time I checked, it was like 41 million Americans were on food stamps and getting government aid under Joe Biden. So you're not telling me, oh, this just happened because of Trump. It's all, no one's ever been on food stamps before. The stupid. The fact is, this is an old issue. But no one wants to address, why are 15% of Americans on food stamps? What's failed? Whether that be Republicans and Democrats, it's in fact both. I'm not afraid to say, as a Republican, this is a failure of Republicans and Democrats alike. That that so many Americans, you can't tell me that 15% of America for the last 3 decades at least have all fallen into irreparable problems that everyone, I've been homeless. Been homeless twice. I lost my house. I lost 90% of everything I have ever owned. This is why the super chats are so important, why the RumbleRants makes so much of a difference, why my Patreon, which is $1.50 per month, why that's so important to me. I lost, within the last 2.5 years, I lost 95% of everything I own. Everything. I understand that sometimes people will need help. Things happen in a life. But guess what? When I was homeless, I was 25, 26 years old. That's when I was homeless. And I rebuilt my life. And I wound up, by the time I was about 35, I was a homeowner. I bought my house, mortgage. So you can't tell me that these 42 million people, they didn't appear out of nowhere. There's a problem. There's a fundamental problem that we need to address. and blaming it on Trump, blaming it on Republicans this year during this shutdown. This is the 11th shutdown America has had in its history. 11. So you can't tell me this is now just a Trump thing. This has never happened before. It's not new. Remember when Obama sent out the Obama checks? And you may not remember this. I remember it in his first term, and he sent out, this is after the 2008 recession, which was caused by the housing bubble, which was created by Charles Rangel, Frank Dodd, Democrats. And their reforms of the banking, they created the subprime banking market. And that led to the bubble, which then blew up, led to the 2008 recession, which then Barack Obama decided that he was going to send out a check to every American. And they didn't take into account, the Democrats didn't think it through, and 144,000 Americans lost food stamps and government aid because the check that Obama sent out was counted as income, and people suddenly bounced out of the cutoff from the government for government aid and for food stamps. 144,000 people lost food stamps because of the Obama check. You didn't see the news going crazy about that. They weren't blaming Obama for that policy, his plan, and his failure to understand the consequences of his actions. And the news media didn't scream and shout about that. Now they're trying to fearmonger. Oh my God, 42 million people, they're all going to starve tomorrow. No, they're not. No, they're not. And if anyone who's getting food stamps, you knew this was coming, you didn't plan for it, which means that we haven't taught you well enough to understand, to see the signs that everyone else saw and not plan. Have you never, when I had my house, I had cabinets. When I had to leave my house, I donated over 100, it was about 100 pounds of canned foods, mostly vegetables because I hate vegetables, but about 100 pounds of canned foods. And I donated that the day I was leaving Binghamton, because that was just my extra supply. That was my last minute, lights went out. There's nothing left. It's an apocalypse. And I had about 100 pounds of food in cans. And I wasn't going to take it with me to the Bronx, back to where my family has lived for the last 50 years. No, I gave it away. I made a donation so that it could be distributed to people who were in need. No one's planned ahead. Americans aren't going to starve. They're not starving to death. And that brings me to the thing about food riots. And I think I have that up next, right? Is the food riot conversation? No, okay. The way I had it listed up here, let me show you. But you're hearing things, you hear the fear mongering, and this is from Representative Jayapala, and she says, child poverty has tripled since 2021. Who was in charge in 2021? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Child poverty has been increasing under the Democrats, under Bidenomics. She wants to focus on today the problem that she's pointing out, child poverty tripling. That's a Biden issue. That's a Democrat issue. The media just didn't want to point it out. The moment it became a Trump presidency, then it became, oh my God, where did all the homeless people come from? Where did all the kids in poverty come from? They just all popped up because Donald Trump took office. Donald Trump hasn't passed a budget. This is the first budget under the Trump 47 presidency. We have been operating under Biden's economic policies. We've been operating under Bidenomics. This is Biden's failure. This is the Democrats' failure. Yes, Trump has been inputting his plans, but this is his first budget. You can't blame all of that on Trump going forward in 2026. If it continues, yeah, you can blame it on Trump. 2026, 2027, even 2029, you can point back and go, the first year, the first budget in 2029, you can point back and say, well, this is because of Trump. You can do that. Absolutely. You can't look at what Biden did and blame it on Trump. Why did child poverty triple? The same reason why the number of people who weren't counted as unemployed were not counted. The 1.5 million people who are unemployed under Biden-Harris since 2023 and 2024. 1.5 million people unemployed, which would have changed the unemployment rate, which changes the whether or not America's in a recession. It's a big deal. Why didn't that get counted properly? Democrats. The media was protecting Democrats because they were trying to get you to vote Democrat. Because this isn't about you. They don't care about you. They care about your vote only if you vote Democrat, and that's it. They don't care. They want your money and they want power, and they don't care about you. Jayapala doesn't care about you. If she cared about you, she'd be screaming about child poverty every day since 2021 under the Biden-Harris administration, and she didn't. It's really upsetting. It really is. Where is... Yeah. But but the thing that really gets me is here comes the threat, because there's always a threat attached to these things with Democrats. Here's the threat. If you don't give the entitlements to the far left, they're going to riot. And that makes no sense. This is coming from, by the way, the source. This is The Root, which is a black-centric news magazine. And they are biased. They're massively biased. They are definitely left-leaning. But The Root is coming out and saying, hey, you know what? White people are going... They're implying that's going to be black people, but it will be poor people that if they don't get their SNAP benefits, they're going to have riots. Why? Why would they do that? No one in America is starving so much or so incapable of getting food that they are... This isn't Ethiopia. This isn't Somalia. This isn't some African third world nation. Let's be clear about that. It's not. And we give more food and more help around the world than the independent individual giving of food and money, charity from the American people is more than most nations are able to have as a GDP, as a gross domestic product. Americans are right now, churches around America are filling up the gap. The communities around America are filling up the gap. I just showed you a post with all of the leadership of Broome County. That's including the biggest city, Binghamton, as well as the county executive, the assemblywoman. I'm showing you all of the various people who are leading, and they're talking about the community giving. That's programs like Chow, and some of the churches there are all picking up the slack as they always do. You don't need the government. Now, I'm not telling you you're going to get shrimp and steak. You won't. But you will get bread, cheese, some vegetables, the things you need to survive. You'll get beans and stuff like that. You will get enough food, rice. You'll get that. You'll get butter. You'll be able to survive. It's not luxurious. Then again, beggars shouldn't be, what is the saying? Beggars aren't choosers. This is money that's meant to be charity. Don't look the charity in your mouth, in a horse's mouth, something like that. I'm mixing metaphors there. But to say that it's going to be violence because you're entitled, no, you're not. Get a better job. Work harder, save money, stockpile. There's a lot of things you could do, but to tell me, oh, I'm not getting my government handout, so I've got to go out and burn down, or because this is what we mean. When they say riot, they mean burn down the business, to destroy the business so that they will never have that again. They're going to do what you saw in California. What did California do? Oh, well, if you steal up to $1,000, we're not going to charge you with a crime. How many Walgreens closed down forever? 19. Think about Minneapolis, the autonomous zone in Minneapolis, the riots, the BLM riots, that burned down, that had the mostly peaceful arsons that were going on, burned down supermarkets, burned down apartment buildings, took out small businesses. How much of that has been rebuilt? None of it. They're not getting back the jobs. They're not getting back the supermarkets. The food desert has increased and or been created in those communities because destroying it didn't make it better. Stealing nonstop from businesses didn't make it better. It didn't improve people's quality of life. It actually made things worse. Now you're telling me you're going to go out and riot? You're going to go into the local Walmart and you're going to just strip it of all the food? Are you stupid? Oh, so you want Walmart to close in your community so that no other supermarket will open up in that community because they don't want the next riot. They can't afford it. So no one will give you food. And now you're going to have to take buses and Ubers and cars and travel even further, increasing your cost and pay higher prices for the next grocery store because the riot ruined what you had. That's stupid. It's self-destructive. It's like self-deletion in slow motion. This is stupid at every level. And you know who planned this? Democratic Socialists of America, the far left. It got a black DEI up there and said, you can't take my food stamps. Oh no, I'm entitled to this. I pay taxes. No, you get refunds. Let's be honest. The people who are getting food stamps are also getting refunds. They're not paying taxes. They're getting taxes handed back to them. They're getting refunds. And again, I'm not blaming them for being, well, I'm not fully blaming them for being on food stamps. I grew up in a different generation. You really, really had to be struggling to get food stamps or government help. That's how we were raised in the 70s and 80s. Was that the best answer? No, it wasn't. But neither is saying I'm entitled and that if you don't give it to me, I'm just going to go and steal it. I'm sorry. There's a big difference between we're going to help you through charity or the government providing charity and you are entitled to steal. You're not. This is a wonderful way to destroy communities. If these people actually go out and go into the Walmarts, they go into the Krogers, they go into the Kmarts and the Targets, and they steal the food, they are going to destroy their own community. This is a stupid idea. This was started by Democrats, and the idea is, oh my God, see, Republicans are so bad that people are going in and they're stealing from these businesses. We need to reopen the government. I'm sorry, if they do this, if the Democrats do this, if the DSA and all the far left go out and they do this, they will destroy these communities by themselves. And it won't matter if the government opens up or not. It doesn't matter if they get double the food stamps or SNAP benefits, whatever you want to call it, because their community will be destroyed. Because Walmart, Kroger's, all of the supermarkets will close that supermarket and they will walk away. Or they will jack up the prices so high that you still, even with food stamps, won't be able to afford anything because they're going to get paid back. They will jack up the prices until they make their money back, and then they will close the store, or they will just close it outright and take the write-off. This is a stupid idea. If anyone disagrees with me, I'm happy to hear that voice. Let me go back to comments here real quick. And we see, this is from Dow. In fact, let me put it up here. So Dow says, those on social media who are making these threats over food stamps are saying starvation will be the premise for justifying violence. It isn't the reality of the case. Yeah, they're not starving. Ethiopians are starving. You can go through Sudan. People in the Sudan are starving. You can say people in the Palestinians in Gaza, some of them are starving. You know what? That's starvation. Yes. In America, you're hungry. You're hungry. If you've been on food stamps and you've been using food stamps to go and buy food, then you're not starving on November 1st. You're not starving. You're hungry. You're not starving. It's just crazy. Dow goes on to say, what it really is about is the radicalization of masses of entitlement cases are no longer receiving the tribute meant to mollify them, to prevent them from their original urges to violently plunder. I get where you're going with that. It's really sad. It is really, really sad. And it pisses me off because it's unnecessary. This is unnecessary. Again, this never needed to be a problem, and it can be resolved at any moment. 5 Democrats say, open the government. That's all it takes. 5 Democrats can say. Pick the 5 Democrats in the safest districts that they are guaranteed, like Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand. She's going to get reelected. Chuck Schumer, he's going to get reelected. They're not going to put in a Republican in New York State. No, for a Senate, no, that's not going to happen. You go to California, you go to Illinois, you go over to Massachusetts, you get those guys to all vote. That's 6 votes right there. I just mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4. That you can get 5 or 6 or even up to 8 votes if you want. Those are bluer than blue states. You can get Washington State, Oregon State. These are bluer than blue states. You can get 1 or 2 senators from each of those. They can vote for this. The government's open. Guess what? There are no riots. Life goes back on. Everything's solved. No, they're doing this to fearmonger and to try and get people to vote Democrat. That's what this is about. Ooh, Republicans and MAGA, they're just all evil. They want people to starve. Stupid. It's stupid. Let's see. Joel says, most the EB Snap videos I've seen are by trolls trying to stir up hatred for the poor. I don't hate the poor, but I don't excuse them either. Being poor doesn't mean you get to steal. Just like saying, well, poor people are black. That's a lie. And you don't get to say black people get to steal. That's a stupid idea too. And that's California. That's Gavin Newsom. His idea was, we can't, they're black people. They're poor. So we can't throw them in jail if they take less than $1,000. That is stupid and racist. I don't agree with that. And saying, you're on Snap, so you're going to go out and riot. That's stupid. I do not believe it is the people on food stamps who are saying, I'm going to go out and riot. I think it's the far left who are using that as the excuse to go out and riot. Because they love to go out and riot. Every time there's like a BLM event, if you've got the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, the progressive leaders of tomorrow, when the far left goes out to protest, it's always a riot. Every single time. It's always a riot. They don't know how to go out and protest without breaking windows, trying to set something on fire, without trying to cause some kind of public disruption. Every single time. If anyone thinks I'm wrong on that, please tell me why. And Dow says this has been their strategy in the U.S. since the 60s. Yes, absolutely true. Absolutely true. They've been doing it since the 60s. This is not new. So where did I leave off? Here. Okay. But with all the problems that are going on right now, folks, you know what? It's not over. AI, the big bad that no one's talking about, that everyone needs to be aware of, is AI. And we've talked about it on this program from time to time. And I know that people like Lars Mapstead, who was a libertarian candidate who ran for president, he recently was doing an interview and said, AI, it's going to take jobs. This is only the start. 14,000 jobs from Amazon. 48,000 jobs from UPS. Now, part of that is a domino thing. So if Amazon is cutting 14,000 jobs, well, Amazon uses UPS in part. Some of the packages goes through UPS. If there's less packages at Amazon, then the packages that are handled by UPS, that decreases as well. So they're going to fire some people too. So part of this process, and all the businesses that are involved in this. So businesses that make cardboard boxes, businesses that make the bubble wrap, that bubble wrap wrapping paper that everyone loves to pop all the time. yeah, that's going to go down. Why? They're going to move less packages. They have 14,000 less people. So that goes through the chain. And we see that decrease. So a lot of businesses are going to lose. That's what happens with AI. You get more efficient in one end, but that means you need less people. The more efficient, think of what happened with X. So it's not just a blue collar thing. It's also a white collar thing. When Elon Musk took over X, he fired 75% of the employees because they were dead air. They were dead waste. They were useless. He didn't need them. Right now, there are 75% less people working at X than there were the day Elon Musk took over. And X is working as well as it has ever worked before. You can do everything that you could have done under X in the past, and maybe even more, because they've integrated Grok and they have Grokopedia. You have more things you can do today with less people working there. Why? Because they became more efficient. Part of that is in, of course, AI and other technology. And we're only seeing that same process happen in every industry you can name. AI is going to change the landscape. We've heard many people who said, Lars Mapstead, who is a tech guy, he made his money in technology. He's very much up to date about AI. He's been following it. He talks about it a lot on his X channel, on his Twitter channel. And he believes it could be as much as 50%. 50% of jobs will disappear because of AI. That's one of the larger predictions I've ever heard. I've heard, 10, 20, 30% of all jobs will go. But that's your range. Somewhere between 10 and 50% of the workforces out there are going to disappear. Because a lot of the jobs today, they're just redundant. Look at education as a great example. And it's kind of like what we're seeing over at Amazon. You've got a lot of people that are middle managers. Their only job is administration. They're there to push paper. They get paperwork from the low-end workers, and they push those papers through to the high-end workers. That's what they do. That is the middle management, which is a large part of pretty much every corporation, every major corporation out there. That's true. And in education, the fastest growing part of workers in education, the largest number of people who are part of the union, they're all the middle management. They're the administrators, not teachers. We have about the same number of teachers as we have had for the last 20 years. That number really hasn't improved. And we have roughly about the same number of principals. Slightly more, but not by much. So you have about the same number of principals, you have about the same number of teachers, and in terms of the money, we're still spending the same kind of money. We're not increasing the budget on books and materials to help kids learn. That number has stayed flat. The money that we're spending is on administrators. We've been doing that. There has been a 300% increase in the number of middle managers administration since the 1980s, a 300% increase. That's true in colleges and in high schools. 300% increase. Same money is being spent on students. All of the increases in the cost of tuition and the cost of child education, the government spending, it's all on administrators. You put in AI, those jobs disappear. Those jobs will disappear. We're talking about tens of thousands, again, 100,000 people will get fired. They'll all be middle management. That's just in education. And now imagine that in every single industry you can think of. All the administrators will go away. And we've been telling our kids, become administrators. Go to college, get a degree, and you can be an admin, and you'll make $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000. That's what these middle managers, some of them get. They can get anywhere from about $100,000 to about $250,000 a year, depending on the industry exactly. That's a lot of money. And all those jobs are going to disappear because it will save the businesses tons of money to get rid of these people because they don't need people pushing paper that an AI can do faster and better with fewer mistakes. That should scare people. This is one of the reasons why I have been insisting. And most of the people who follow technology, most of the people who look at AI and are talking about the future of this technology, they keep saying, and I have been saying since 2014, at least publicly, I have been saying, we need more kids to go into being electricians and carpenters. We need machinists. We need electricians. We need kids in the trades. That's where their future growth is. Not to become yet another lawyer, we do need doctors, but not as many as most people think. We need these things to fix our infrastructure in our cities and our towns, to be able to deal with this technology as it grows and gets integrated into every part of our lives. We need these industries. And we have been telling our kids the wrong thing. Now they're going to get in the middle of their careers. They're going to get fired. By the way, who are most of these administrators? Women. This is going to devastate women in the workplace more than anyone else. So if you haven't been planning your resume, if you haven't picked up other skills besides just being an administrator that pushes paper around, if you know nothing except being the HR person, you may be in for a very wicked surprise. You may not make it to retirement in that company that you're in right now. You may be fired way sooner than you thought you ever would be. This is a warning from Amazon. This is the beginning. AI is going to absolutely devastate the way we do work, not just in America, but around the world. And this is the warning shot telling you, get prepared. If you don't have other skills, and I don't mean computer skills, I don't mean learn how to code. I mean, do you know how to build something? Do you know how to repair something? Do you know how to use your hands to get down and dirty and get something done? And if you don't, you're going to have a problem. And you're going to join the people on EBT or SNAP or food stamps. You're going to be one of the people who are a dependent slave on the government. That's your choice. And you're getting warned now. Learn how to do something absolutely useful, something skillful. Learn that skill and build that up now, or you will be an EBT, food stamp, government aid slave. Those are your choices going forward. If anyone disagrees with me, I'm happy to hear it in the comments, or if you want to do a super chat, you want to do a Rumble rant, I'm happy to hear these comments, but I'm telling you, that's what's coming down the line. That's what we are dealing with. And for those who think, Mike, you're not understanding the scope of the problem, you misunderstand it. Okay. When I say 48,000 coming out of UPS, here it is. UPS claims AI isn't behind layoffs, yet they're firing 48,000 people and they're increasing their technology. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They just don't want to tell you that. Because the unions, they're not ready for this. The unions don't know what to do. The unions are fighting this. Why? Because unions make money off of the workers. They get money from the dues. They're losing people who pay dues. And unions are just like any other corporation. You may love your union. You may think your union is important. You may like the concept of unions. I don't. They stopped serving a purpose right around the 1960s, and they just became another big corporation. That's all unions are right now. They're just another big corporation. And they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Don't think your union's going to protect you. They can't. Not from this. It's coming, folks. You may not like this. It may not make you happy, but it is coming. Automation now represents a growing share of UPS's package handling. Did you see that? It is a growing amount. The company expanded automation to 35 additional facilities this year, raising the proportion of packages processed through automation sites to about 66%. If they're doing that, if 2/3 of everything that's going through UPS is being done by AI, they don't need the workers. And by the way, they also don't need the middle managers. It's not just the low-end grunt who moves around the packages. It's also the middle managers. And in fact, the middle managers are going to go twice as fast as the workers. At least the workers do something. They lift. AI isn't going to pick up a package and move it. That's not what AI can do. So I may get rid of 5-10% of the grunt workers, but I also don't need the middle managers now. I'll get rid of twice as many of them because all I got to do, what? You're pushing around paper. Okay, fantastic. I got an AI for that. I can get rid of twice as many of you than the grunt. I need them. They actually do something useful. That's what we got to look out for, folks. A lot of people aren't thinking about that. And they're not thinking of it that way. Okay, we're coming close to the end right now because it wasn't meant to be a long show. And I'm about half an hour longer than I wanted to be. But it's Saturday, and I hope, some people will see this Sunday instead of seeing my normal 2:30 p.m. show. And again, why? I will be out in the Bronx at an event for veterans, helping veterans. I'll be there with Larry Sharp. I'll be there with Gonzalo Duran and some other conservatives in the Bronx, helping veterans, which I'm happy to do. But I did want to show you this. I think this is really great. This is Bill Maher. Bill Maher is talking to Charlie Sheen. Now, I don't like Bill Maher because he is duplicitous. He's two-faced. He was saying in May of 2020, he was telling women, even if Joe Biden had sexually assaulted women, don't Me Too him, vote for him anyway. He was saying in 2019 that he wanted a recession so that America would suffer so they wouldn't reelect Donald Trump. Bill Maher is a two-faced individual that only cares about what benefits him. He's as liberal as things working out for him. The moment something isn't in his benefit, well, he stops being liberal and he turns into something very, very different. But when things are working out for him, then he's very liberal. He's two-faced. I do not trust him. He's worried about making sure his show makes money and that he keeps his show more than he cares about his principles. At least that's the way he comes off to me. You may think something different about him. But he is talking very directly with Charlie Sheen. Now, Charlie Sheen is a very damaged individual. We all know that. I mean, Tiger Blood was all fun and games at the time, but you knew that he had big issues in his life. And unlike, say, Robert Dowling Jr., our DJ, unlike him, who turned his life around, also had a very damaged early part of his life, and he had to become clean and sober, and he found religion, and he turned his life around, which I find admirable. Mind you, he got way too many chances because he was a Hollywood star, but he did turn his life around, and I respect him for that. And I think that's a very important thing. Gary Nerdrotic, Gary Bugler, turned his life around. He had drugs, he had crime, he served his time, he turned his life around, and now he's a success, and he is someone to look up to. I think that's important. Charlie Sheen, he's now turned his life around, apparently. Good for him. Sadly, it took the fact that he had to get AIDS to be able to turn his life around. And that's pretty significant. And that obviously is going to take a toll on his quality of life and the length of his life, his quantity of life, but he did make that change. So I give him benefit for that. And it's kind of interesting. Bill Maher, who enjoys all of his luxury, he enjoys his drugs, he enjoys his power. He's never been interrupted on that in any significant way. He's talking to a man who has gone through trials and tribulations. He had to search his soul to make his life better. And guess who makes the revelation, the statement that you and I would make? Watch this.
Some crazy percentage of crimes, some side of crime was like from 600 people who just over and over did like 80% of the
That is
whatever.
just
I know.
wow.
I know.
So if you're able to build statistics from that, you clearly know who the they are, right?
I mean,
So why not just take just those 600 people
and this
just build a special place for them?
And this is
Doesn't this make sense? And we've seen this over and over again. We see this with bail reform in New York State and everywhere else that they've done the bail reform with the revolving doors. We see these repeat criminals, and these repeat criminals go right back out and they commit the crimes. How many stories have you seen? And there have been many, many, many of them since bail reform has been done across this nation, because the left-wing Democrats, the far left, the progressives out there have all said, well, we have to have bail reform, and we have to, they're black or they're Hispanic, they're minorities. They got to go back out. They don't get cashless bail. That's the way it has to be. Don't worry, they'll be good while they're on bail, while they're waiting for the trial. No, they're not. How many times have we seen them? You arrest someone. One of the stories that sticks in my mind, I think it was about 3 years ago, a guy, 2021, I think it was, a guy is arrested for trying to rob a bank. They let him out 2 hours later. So they arrest him at the bank trying to rob the bank. They take him over to the station house. 2 hours later, he's done all his paperwork. They release him. He goes back to the same exact bank and tries to rob it again. Literally, same day, 2 hours difference. 2 hours later, he's back at the bank trying to rob it again. The very same police officers come back and arrest the same guy. This is bail reform. We know who the criminals are. We have guys in New York State, we have people, and this has been said by Eric Adams, this has been said by Andrew Cuomo when he was governor, it's been said by anyone who actually looks at the numbers. We know that there's well over 12% of criminals who are let out on cashless bail reform, and we know over and over, 12% of them do about 14 crimes each. 12% of the guys who have been going through the cashless bail have committed 14 crimes apiece. This is stupid. But you can't say that, Mike. It's racist. How's it racist? I didn't say they were black. I didn't say they were white. I didn't say they were men or women. How's it racist? I said criminals, at least 12% of them, according to the data that we've had, get out on cashless bail and commit more crimes, 14 more crimes. They are repeat offenders. And they're going through the system in and out the door like a revolving door, and they are harming the community. And we know who they are. These are the people that when we had bail, real bail, cash bail, they weren't doing this. At least not in the speed and the amount that they're doing now. How many times have we seen this? There are articles upon articles upon articles. That's in LA, that's in Chicago, it's in Detroit, it's in New York. It is in all the major bluer than blue cities where they did cashless bail and social justice, and it has failed. The experiment has failed. The public has suffered through this failure. Why are we still doing it? Charlie Sheen, a man who has made more than enough mistakes in his life, a man who does understand what it is to be a drug addict. He does understand what it is to lose in life. He saw it instantly. It didn't take any time. He instantly said, wait a minute. We have the stat. That means we know who these people are. It makes perfect sense. Why aren't we doing something about this? Oh, because people like Bill Maher, like progressives, they never came to the conclusion. They saw the statistic and never once did they think, hey, we know who these people are. If we can count to 6, we know who these people are, and we can count them. We've got 600. That means we know exactly who that is. Why aren't we doing something about this? Why aren't we preventing crime? The crime we know specifically, identified, dead on the dot. We know who it is. Why are we letting them keep making crimes? Oh, it's racist. No, it's not. It's like when people talk about, when I see the left talk about Letitia James, and they say, well, she's the AG of New York, and she's a Democrat, but she's a woman. Yeah. So, and she's black, and you can't arrest her. Why not? Did she commit the crime? What? But Mike, I told you she's a woman and she's black. Did she commit the crime? She's a Democrat. Did she commit the crime? That's all we have to ask. That's all we should be asking. And we have evidence out there that says she committed the crime. She gets to go to trial, and if found guilty, she goes to jail. The rest of that stuff, her being black, a woman, a Democrat, elected in office, none of that matters. That is meaningless information. Meaningless. Kat Abu, out of the Illinois 9th District, who is running for Congress. But Mike, she's a woman. And she wants to be in Congress. And she's a Democrat, a progressive. And, well, you can't arrest her. I mean, she's against immigration, illegal immigration. That's stupid. She broke the law. She gets arrested, she goes to trial, and if she's guilty, and we have video evidence that proves she is guilty, she goes to jail, period. Democrats love to give us excuses, and they try to make sure that, no, we have to protect these Democrats. We have to protect these illegal aliens. They protect the criminals. And I have to say, why are they protecting these people? The criminals aren't going to stop committing crime. They don't care who's in charge. Illegal aliens can't vote. At least, well, they're not supposed to be voting, even though we know that some of them do vote, and we do know that some of them are registered to vote, but they're not supposed to be. And we're told, or at least so far, the evidence we can find, which everyone's trying to hide, says that when they get registered and when they vote, well, that's rare. It's not a very common thing, but it could be worse than we think because no one on the left will actually show us the evidence. They're hiding the evidence, so it could be far more. But even so, the left is protecting criminals, illegal aliens. Why are they doing that? That's another question that no one ever asks. So Charlie Sheen's right. If we know who these people are, we know them so well that we can give a singular, definitive, not a range, not 1,000, not 100 to 1,000 people. We think it's somewhere between 300 and 2,000 people. No, we have a number. It's 600. If we know the number definitively, then we should be, there's no reason why we don't do something about this other than Democrats let it happen. And I know it's Democrats because we're talking about bail reform. And guess what? The red states don't do bail reform. Red cities don't do bail reform. This is a Democrat progressive thing. And only Democrats and progressives do that. And only Democrats and progressives are hurting their people with this stupid idea that is so stupid because we know exactly who's doing it and we can stop it. And their answer is, well, that would be racist. Did they commit the crime? Yes. Then it's not racist. Oh, but it has to be. Why? Well, they're black or Hispanic, or they're from another country. They've got a suntan, Mike, just like you. They've got a suntan. And the answer is, did they commit the crime? Democrats never like to answer that. They always like to change the subject. They don't want to deal with the reality. Did they break the law? Yes. Then hold them accountable. It's just that simple. But what about the racism? That's your issue. If you're telling me I can't convict someone for a crime that they have committed because of the color of their skin, if you're telling me the law doesn't apply to everyone equally because of the color of their skin, you are the racist if you're saying that. Because I didn't say black people or white people or men or women or trans. I didn't say any of that. I said the law and I said people. If you, when you hear that, go black or white, if you are selecting groups of people to put into what I just said, then you have a problem, not me. I don't know. But maybe, I don't know. I just don't even know how to deal with this. Okay. You may hear a little bit about this, but I doubt it. It came out on yesterday, the 31st, on Friday. We were told that the FBI protected Americans from a terrorist attack. There was going to be a terrorist attack on Halloween. And wouldn't you know, now some of the news media, and this is from CBS News, okay? So this isn't right wing. It's not Breitbart. It's not Daily Caller. This is CBS News. This is left-leaning news telling you there was going to be a terrorist attack. The FBI was tracking this. And you're going to say, but Mike, how did they know to track it? How could they find these terrorists? Well, where was this happening? Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan, a bunch of teens, 5 teens, were talking about how they could commit an act of terror on U.S. soil against against American citizens. I don't know if all of these teens happen to be, they could be immigrants, they could be American born. I don't know. I just know that they're from Dearborn, and a large percent of the people who are in Dearborn aren't natural born American citizens. That we can say. So maybe it's a correlation, but I would be willing to bet, and the article somehow skips over whether they're immigrants or whether they're naturalized citizens or if they're American citizens by birth. They skip that over. I wonder why. I think CBS ignored that because they know what the answer is. These are probably immigrants that come from places like Somalia or Yemen, and they happen to be Muslim, and they just happen to want to mass murder American citizens, who I am absolutely sure they weren't looking to kill a bunch of other Dearborn, Michigan Muslim immigrants. They weren't looking to kill their own community. They were looking to kill everyone else's community. They were looking to kill other American citizens. Now, someone's going to say, but Mike, you're being an Islamophobe. No, I'm looking at the evidence and I'm making practical, logical conclusions based on the information we have. These kids, they weren't looking to go out and mass murder people in Dearborn, Michigan. You can read the article for yourself. The FBI report. They weren't looking to kill their own people. They were looking to go somewhere else and kill other people. And we know who's in Dearborn, Michigan. We know that this is Ilhan Omar's district. We know what she says. It's really sad. And the news media, CBS, they did not make big news of this. It should have been. We should be very clearly aware. And thank goodness the FBI, even with the government shutdown, is still doing its job. That the men and women of the FBI, not the leadership, the men and women of the FBI are doing their job, protecting you. because there are people in America that presumably, based on the evidence, seem to be people from other countries living in America. They don't like how you live in America, and they want to punish you for not living like them. They want your home to be like their home. They want your principles, your beliefs, your ideology to be theirs. Doesn't that sound like what the left says to you on a regular basis? That you have to have their feelings, that you have to comply to them? Think about it. It's the same thing about what's happening with the government shutdown. Republicans have to bend over and do what Democrats want. Republicans already did something. They did their job. Not good enough for the Democrats. Democrats want more. They want to be appeased. They want to be entitled. They want to have more. It's not enough that they get treated like everyone else. They want special treatment. They want an extra $1.5 trillion. Not to help American citizens, not to help Republicans. They just want to help their progressive allies. They want to help illegal aliens. They want special treatment. You can't treat them like everyone else. They'll tell you everyone's equal, except they're more equal than everyone else. And that's why we have these events happening, just like we see in Dearborn, Michigan. You can say that's Islamophobic. You can say that's racist or sexist. You can say all those things. It means nothing. Was this happening? Is there a crime? Yes. Labeling it after the fact to make you feel better, and I'm talking about people on the left, because their feelings, we have to always take care. We got to make sure their feelings are okay, that they're going to be all right. Do you feel okay? Are you going to be able to sleep at night? I don't care. I don't care. Their social programs, their social experiment has failed. It's time to stop playing this game. We need to stop with these social experiments. All they do is harm our nation, and it takes decades to repair where these failures happen. Everywhere these failures happen, it takes decades to fix. It's just very upsetting to me. It is very, very upsetting to me. Okay, I'm trying to finish up though. But by the way, it's not the only thing, because when I say these social experiments have failed, you know, and we've talked about it on this program before, the creator of BLM, Patricia Colors, got $90 million. Leftists across this country, people who thought they were doing the right thing, donated money. Well, she's black and a woman, and she's a leftist, so we got to give her money. And we gave $90 million to Patrice Colors, the founder of BLM, a woman who went on and told us publicly the reason why she created BLM was to convert black people into socialism, into communism. It was supposed to be the gateway to communism, like Zoran Mandani, a gateway to communism. That's why they exist. And she took $90 million, promising, like all of these people, like Sean King, all of them, they say, these grifters, Ibram Kendi and the rest, they say, you know what? We're going to take the money and we're going to help black people. And they did nothing. Patrice Colors in particular, she bought 6 mansions, not 1, not 2. She bought 6 mansions for her and her family. Think about that. That took over $20 million, over $20 million out of the $90 million that you gave. Some estimates say it was as much as $30 million, but I'm going with the low-end estimate of $20 million for these 6 mansions that she gave to her family, some roughly about, 27% of all the money that you donated to BLM to take care of black people went to her creature comforts. And then she retired. She got paid. She got paid millions of dollars, bought property for her family, said, oh, yeah. This private mansion that my mother is living in, guess what? That's actually an BLM office. No one actually goes to her office to do any of the work for BLM. Not that BLM does any work. No one's going there except my mom. She's the only one with the keys. But, we bought it under BLM. It's an official BLM asset. We didn't buy it for ourselves. We're just sitting on the pool drinking mimosas. Okay. And Patrice Cullors retired. She retired. She's a socialist who, just like Bernie Sanders, is a multimillionaire. What did she do to earn that? Nothing. She did nothing to earn that. She didn't build anything. She didn't make anything. She ran a riot and guilt tripped a bunch of white progressives, young white progressives in particular, and she guilt tripped them into giving her tens of millions of dollars. And she promised, I'm going to use this for black people. And you can't name a single program that BLM put up to help black people. Not one. I've asked this over the years. I have asked organizations and I've asked Democrats and progressives over and over again, name a program that BLM funded that takes care of black people, that used part of that $90 million to pay for black people to get anything. And they can't name anything because they didn't do it. They spent all the money. By the way, BLM is now bankrupt. BLM is now bankrupt. They spent all the money. No programs that you can name, that I can name, that actually helped any poor people, that helped any black people, any Hispanics, any women. You can't name a single program. But I can tell you, Patrice Cullors had 6 mansions that her entire family got to live in. I can tell you that her brothers and family members were getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do nothing. And now, the Trump administration, they did this under the Biden administration. They did this with Democrats watching them do everything. Started under Obama and then continued under Biden with the government looking at them doing this and said nothing. Trump is now investigating it. The Trump administration, the FBI, Kash Patel are out there now and they are investigating it because that's a fraud. I gave you money because you promised you were going to do something to help people. Then you spent the money on yourself and you never helped the people that you promised you would. You lied to me. And when BLM lied to you, that was a fraud. Now they're going to pay. And you want to tell me, oh, but Trump's so racist. This isn't racist. This is good. Because what BLM did to you was an abuse. And the left just can't say it. They just can't admit it. They'd rather have the abuse. They'd rather be abused. This is like a battered housewife. They want to be battered. Well, no, that's not fair. That's not fair to battered wives. But they would rather, the Democrats, the progressives would rather be battered. They would rather be abused than stop the abuse and admit that BLM used race to steal their money. It's amazing to me. It just blows my mind that they would rather be bilked out of their money than actually do the right thing and hold these people accountable and have them in jail. The left is pissed off at Trump, at MAGA, at the FBI, the Trump administration. They're angry with them because they are daring to say, gee, you just swindled $90 million. How dare you? How dare you commit this fraud? But they're black. Did they commit the crime? That's the only question. The question isn't, are they black? Are they men? Are they women? Are they trans? Who cares? Did they commit the crime? Yes, then they're guilty. It doesn't matter if they're black or not. It doesn't matter if they're men or women or trans or anything else, doesn't matter what religion they are, did they commit the crime? If the answer is yes, then they get punished. Period. If you need to qualify that by, but they're black, you are a racist. It's just that simple. And we know BLM is racist. And we know the people who support BLM are racist by definition. But you're not going to hear about this much. This is going to get buried. They're not going to talk about this in the news. They're going to let this go. I'm telling you. And what are they going to say? But Mike, you can't talk about that. Why? Well, it's racist. Screw you. Stupid. Don't try and play that game with me. Don't play that game with me. All right. Is this the last one? Oh, John Fetterman. John Fetterman. I tell you what, if John Fetterman didn't have a stroke, I would think this guy's brilliant. I really would. John Fetterman is apologizing now because his fellow Democrats, they don't know what they're doing. He's apologizing to America because Democrats are harming America, because they won't let 5 Democrats vote. They will not let them say, here's the money, open the government, and then make their deals. John Fetterman is apologizing. And that is a great thing that he is apologizing for this. But it's also surprising. This is why Democrats are kicking John Fetterman out of their party. Because he's doing the right thing. Because he's doing what his constituents need. John Fetterman's constituents are part of the people who are on food stamps. And he's voting yes to open the government and to feed his constituents. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what his constituents want him to do. He has been, and again, in case people don't know, John Fetterman votes about 85% with Democrats on every single issue. 85% of the time, he has always voted straight up and down Democrat. 85%. And that's not good enough for Democrats. He voted against the Democrats to feed the American people. He voted against Democrats to keep the government open, to pay for the military, to pay for parents, to people who need government aid. He voted for the people. And Democrats are pissed at him. And now they're talking about they're going to replace him. Look, I always said from day one, John Fetterman should never be elected. He had a stroke. His mind broke. He is medically, I can't say incapable, but he's medically deficient. He is less than capable of being able to have communications, to speak and to hear what people are saying. He's improved massively. He's had a wonderful recovery from his stroke, and I am very glad for him that he did. Good for him. But, and I love the fact that as he has recovered, he has become more and more conservative, more and more like a Republican throughout the process, because he started off as a radical progressive. So I like the change in him, and I'm glad that he's gotten healthier. He still shouldn't be a senator, period. I don't care if he's a Republican or not. I don't care. He could be a conservative Republican, goes all the way to the alt-right if you want. I don't care. He still shouldn't be in Congress. Excuse me, in the Senate. He shouldn't be elected because he has mental brain damage. That's a medical fact. I'm not picking on him. That's just a fact. So I don't think he should be there. But I also don't think that Democrats should be trying to replace him because he did what he's supposed to do, what he swore an oath to do, to represent the people, to support and defend the people. That's what Democrats are replacing him for defending and protecting the public, who is the boss. He is responding to their need because the public is who he answers to, not to the Democratic Party, not to Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Maxine Waters or AOC. They aren't who he swore an oath to. He swore an oath to the Constitution and to the people. He has been living up to that oath. And I will give him and I commend him on that he is doing what his people want him to do. Whether that makes him a Republican or a conservative or a Democrat, I don't know and I don't care. But I think it's absolutely unjust for Democrats to try and stab him in the back, as they have announced, to say that they're going to replace him with a yes man or yes woman that will listen to the party line and do whatever the party says, whether it's good for their constituents or not. That is, I don't know how Democrats can live with that. How can you vote Democrat knowing that they're going to kick a guy out because he wants to feed his constituents? That makes no sense to me. My mind is blown. Democrats say, oh, well, we said that those people are supposed to starve and blame it on the Republicans. You can't vote with the Republicans. How dare you? Those people are supposed to starve, so they vote Democrat. If they starve enough, they'll vote for Democrats. They'll beg for Democrats to be a slave to the Democratic Party. How dare you try and feed them? That's what the Democrats have said. I don't understand how people can be a Democrat. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I do not get it. Maybe it's me. By the way, just as a side note here, folks, this story on Cat Abu, this factual, I showed you the actual, I went to Tara Palmieri. I went to her actual site on YouTube. I showed you her video where she had Cat Abu drop off and run away like Cory Booker. And in the US, you will not be able to find that news story. ABC isn't covering it. NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, the Huffington Post, they're not covering the news story. You know where you have to go to get that news story? If you were just looking at the news story, if you were just trying to follow the news, if you're in Chicago or in Illinois and you want to find out about this Cat Abu and you want to see what she's doing, they will not tell you this. You have to go to England. The Daily Mail is going to tell you about this. The American news media will hide this from you. They will not tell you that the next potential congresswoman for the Illinois 9th District is a criminal. They will not tell you that. Now, you'll say, Mike, but how do you know that for sure? How do I know that for sure? Let me show you. Here it is. You can do this yourself. Here is the Google search. I put in Cat Abu. That's it. And she goes by Cat Abu. Her name is Abu Ghaliza or Galeza. I don't care. But she goes by Cat Abu because some people get her last name wrong, like I just did. Okay. And when you put that in, you will get stories about almost anything. You won't hear that she ran out of the office. They're hiding that. I mean, Fox News, of course, does, but I said Democrats. I didn't say Republicans. But you know what you don't see? CNN. They'll tell you that she was thrown to the ground. We knew that. That's when she committed the crime. But they don't want to tell you, oh, by the way, she's a criminal and she's being indicted. And she walked off of a stage because she doesn't want to answer that. You're not going to see that. Oh, maybe I should do this last thing about nuclear weapons. Did I promise I would talk about the nuclear weapons? Let me talk about the nuclear weapons. If anyone tells you that Donald Trump he started nuclear testing, they don't know what they're talking about. They're an idiot and they're lying to you. It's just that simple. And if it's a politician, they are absolutely lying to you. It's not that they're misinformed, because a person might be misinformed. They're parroting something that they heard on CNN or MSNBC. But if it's a politician, they are purposefully lying to you because they want votes. And that's why they're doing it. Because Donald Trump never said that the United States is going to start nuclear testing. We're not going to restart. We stopped nuclear tests, weapons tests, in 1992. That's a fact. I think the last one to do an actual nuclear weapons test after that, not including North Korea, actually, North Korea officially ended in 1996. I think they've had one or two unconfirmed underground nuclear weapons tests since then, back in 2022, but that's unofficial. But we now see the news media, the left, who are desperate to find anything to say negative about Donald Trump. They are absolutely desperate to try and make you think Orange Man bad, to think MAGA bad. And now their latest lie is Trump's trying to start World War III. He wants nuclear war. And he's going to start nuclear testing so that he can get a nuclear weapon and bomb Russia and bomb China. He never said that. That is a lie. Donald Trump said if Russia or China set off a nuclear weapon in a test, the United States would do the same. He told the Department of War to immediately become prepared that if Russia or China set off a nuclear weapon test, America will follow. That we will go tit for tat. If they do it, then we do it. That's all he said. And he told the Department of War, who would be running this, to be prepared. That they would be ready. So that if it happens, and he said this publicly, so Russia knows this, China knows this, everyone is aware that if they do nuclear testing, nuclear weapons testing, that the United States is going to do it too. And the left somehow is going, but that means that Trump's going to fire a nuclear weapon. He's trying to get nuclear war. No, he's not. That's a deterrence. They're trying to stop a nuclear war. See, let me try and maybe make this more clear for people. Hang on. The reason why no one's done a nuclear test in about 30 years. Okay. The reason why countries are considering doing nuclear weapons tests now is they don't know if the nuclear weapons work anymore. A lot of people don't realize that. You know, you have radioactive materials and they're surrounded by electronics. That radiation is always there. Whether the bomb goes off or not, there's radiation. Uranium gives off radiation. Thorium gives off radiation. And so even though they're shielding, it's been there so long, some of that radiation is leaking. It gets out. And that may affect the electronics, which means it may prevent that missile from blowing up. So you won't get the nuclear reaction won't happen. And the longer that you have it, the more likely it's going to not work. Essentially, the nuclear weapons go stale over time. No one's sure how much time. We don't know if in 50 years your nuclear weapon is no longer useful. Maybe it's 70 years. Maybe it's 5 years. No one really knows. We know that in the past, and that's why we were doing nuclear weapons testing for about a good 20 years. We were doing nuclear tests on a pretty regular basis, actually from about the 1950s till about the 1990s. So about 40 years, we were doing a regular nuclear weapons test to try and figure out, well, how long can you have a nuclear weapon before it becomes a dud, before it goes stale, essentially? And that nuclear rocket won't blow up like it's supposed to. Because if it doesn't work, then it doesn't stop someone else from firing a nuke. That's the whole thing. Mutually assured destruction. So if my nuke doesn't work, and everyone knows that every 30 years, every 40 years, you have to replace all your nuclear weapons because they don't work. And we haven't built any new nuclear weapons, or at least not publicly. We haven't built any new nuclear weapons. They know that, oh, we're at year 35. All the U.S. nukes don't work anymore. We made new nuclear weapons. We just tested it. It's working. The new batch are going to be great. America can't stop us. There is no mutually assured destruction. We can destroy America. America can't destroy us. So there you go. That's why countries do nuclear weapons testing, to show to the other countries, my nukes still work. My technology is still good. It's still a threat. So don't fire any nukes. That's what nuclear weapons testing is. It's like, I have a big bomb and it will work. And it still works over time. That's why nations do nuclear weapons testing. That's why Russia was threatening it for a while. That's why China was paying attention. Because if America did a nuclear weapons test and it didn't work, there is no longer a mutually assured destruction, and the balance of power in the world ends. America no longer becomes, or no longer is, the most powerful nation in the world, and everything changes. Everything changes overnight. So if we are willing to do, and what Trump has said is, we are willing to prove that our nuclear weapons are just as deadly, just as effective as they always have been. And we are willing to show you. The reason why you don't do a nuclear test is you're not sure. And Trump has said with boldness, we are absolutely sure. We will be ready any day of the week. At any time, we will go tit for tat with you, and we will prove that our nuclear weapons are just as deadly, just as dangerous as they were back in 1990. That is how you protect America. That's how you protect the world. No one in the news media is trying to tell you that. They're wording it in every way except what I just described to you. Because Democrats, progressives, they want you to think Trump is crazy. He's a warmonger. He wants nuclear war. No one survives nuclear war. The world ends as we know it. Not a nuclear war won't kill everyone. We won't become Metro 2025 or whatever it was, the Metro series of video games. We're not going to get that. But we're also not going to continue to be like we are right now. We're going to be in a very different world with a hell of a lot less people and a whole lot more radiation. That's the reality. No one wants nuclear war. They want to boast about it. They want to get right up to the line. They'll make more nuclear weapons. The military-industrial complex will make bigger and better weapons, but no one wants to fire them. Maybe the nut jobs in Iran. They would fire it because they're religious fanatics. The Ayatollah would probably say yes. But everyone else in the world is smart enough that nobody would want to actually start a nuclear war because nobody wins. Everybody loses. There is no winner from that. Trump isn't trying to start a war. He's trying to stop one. And if you stop and think, why did he do this? Then it's very obvious because it's supposed to be obvious. It isn't. He's not hiding anything. What was it? If you have ever seen the movie Dr. Strangelove, the movie's exact title is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb. Okay, with Peter Sellers. It's a great film. It's very funny, very dark humor, satirical. It's a great film. And in that film, you have Peter Sellers, who's pretending, he's playing the role of the United States president, and he's talking to the Russian president, Russian president, and Dmitry is his name. And I think the argument is, he's saying, well, Dmitry, you have this doomsday weapon. Why didn't you tell me? Kind of defeats the point. You know, if you have a doomsday weapon that will ensure everyone dies, well, the whole point is you tell everyone about that so no one attacks you. The answer from the president of Russia, this fictional character Dmitry, says, oh, we were going to announce it on Thursday. Now, if you know the movie of Dr. Strangelove, if you know what's going on with that, I'm not giving away the ending. It's a film worth watching and to see it all the way through. But that just gives you an element of it. The whole idea is you want to be transparent. You want to be obvious. There's no question about what Donald Trump is doing. There's no question what his reason is. He's saying it to everyone and letting everyone in the world know about it, not because he wants to be a warmonger. It's because he wants to not have a war. It is so simple. It is so obvious. It is so basic. And yet we're seeing Hakeem Jeffries. We're hearing from Chuck Schumer. We're seeing ABC, CBS, NBC, MS Now. They're all lying to the public. Oh my God, he's going to try and blow up the world. Trump is such a warmonger. You stupid idiots. Stop being so simple-minded. And it's not just the progressives. There's a lot of people who are in the center, who are libertarian or Republican even. And they're like, oh my God, it's nuclear weapons. Oh my God, no. Stop. Just stop. Okay? Stop and think. Stop feeling. Stop being wrapped up in your emotions and think about why did he do it? Because he didn't just do it. He did it publicly. Very, very publicly. He made sure every news media organization in the world knew what he said. And everyone's quoted him. Many of the American news media have misquoted him or reinterpreted the meaning of what he said, but his exact words, which is what the government's going to pay attention to. Because he doesn't care whether ABC quotes him right or not. He doesn't care if MSNBC gets the quote right or not. The message wasn't for them. The message was for Putin. And the message was for Xi. He was talking to Russia. He was talking to China. Kind of talking to North Korea and also Iran a little bit, but he's talking to the world nations. He's telling them something very blatantly true. Our weapons work. They work as well as they have ever worked, and I am willing to prove it. Don't test me. It's that simple. Let's not get into a nuclear weapons race. Our weapons still work. We don't have the most. We have the second most. We're like 300 missiles away from having the most missiles in the world. China has 5,500. We have 5,200. It's not worth mixing numbers about. We have more than enough missiles. Excuse me, it's Russia. Russia has 5,500. China has 1,300. America has 5,200. More than enough to blow up the world. But the point is, you don't want to risk it. Because Trump has just guaranteed our nukes work. Don't play. Don't play games. He will prove it. That's what that's all about. And that's where I'm going to end the show. I went a little bit longer. I went an hour longer than I expected I would be doing. But I think it's important to talk about that because no one is. They're trying to make you afraid. Oh my God, nuclear weapons. Aren't you afraid? Donald Trump, he's radical, he's crazy. Aren't you afraid? MAGA, America First, they won a war. Aren't you afraid? Stop being afraid. Stop being fearful. Think it through. Look at what was said. Look at the environment. Look at what's happening. He was being absolutely obvious. It was purely a diplomatic statement of don't mess with me. Don't play this game. It was very straightforward. And you will find out as we go forward. I am more than happy to predict, I'll put money on it, that this was all about stopping the escalation of nuclear weapons. And that's exactly what it's going to do. This will stop the escalation of nuclear weapons. It's almost exactly what Putin did in regards to Joe Biden. When Joe Biden ran away from the Taliban, ran away with his tail between the legs, then Putin came out and said, I want to take over the Ukraine. He didn't say it before. He said it after. After America had its butt kicked. After he saw that Joe Biden was weak. Then he said, I'm going to take over the Ukraine. And he waited. He wanted to see what would Biden say. And the first thing that Biden said, if you followed the news, if you were looking at it in November of 2021, Joe Biden said appeasement. He wanted to convince the Ukraine to give up some of its land so Russia wouldn't start a war. That was the first thing that Joe Biden said. He didn't say, I'm going to stand by the Ukraine, or I'm going to fight, or I'm going to defend this nation. He said, Ukraine, maybe you should just give up the land. That was the first thing. And when Putin saw that, he saw Joe Biden is weak. He's afraid to do anything. So he went forward and had his war. Because Joe Biden is weak. Fact. Now we have the opposite side. But folks, I've talked to you about all of that. We've been here for an hour longer than I expected I would be. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we'll be back to our regular schedule of the Sunday live stream at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're going to be in the Bronx, remember, I have it posted up. You can see it on my Instagram as well. Tomorrow, you're in the Bronx, you're a veteran, you want a headshot, come on by, and we'll take care of you. But until then, folks, I want you to be well. Thank you for spending some of your Saturday with me. I know you can go out now, have some fun with the Halloween, get dressed up, go out to the local bar, have a great time. I will talk to you guys again